I spent 10 years studying the stock market, but I never expected that right after becoming a fund company trader, my parents would be about to jump off a building because their stock accounts got liquidated. However, watching this scene, not only was I not afraid, but I actually burst out laughing, because I had waited for this day for over 20 years. Seeing my crazy behavior, my colleagues thought I had lost my mind from the shock of my parents jumping. But what they didn't know was that the current me wasn't the me from just a moment ago. I was from 20 years in the future. In the original history of today, my parents' accounts were liquidated due to the rapid limit down of Hong Kong stocks. Unable to bear the pressure, they leaped off the rooftop. But what they didn't know was that in 48 hours, Hong Kong stocks would hit rock bottom and rebound by 7,000 points, reaching a historical high. And this became the biggest regret in my heart. Even after I became the world's strongest god of stocks with a net worth of billions, this scar would still torment me at times. Unexpectedly, what I never imagined was that just now, I actually returned to the exact moment my parents were about to jump. So, in the next second, I sprinted toward the rooftop, hoping to save them. Actually, in my previous life, after my parents jumped, I went home and studied the numerical analysis my father left behind. I found out that his formula was correct. But the relative we borrowed money from, Shen Xun, in order to cut his losses, not only canceled my father's credit cards but also spread rumors everywhere, making it impossible for my father to borrow money to cover his positions. This was what caused my parents to miss the dawn that came 48 hours later. Thinking of this, I ran upstairs with all my might. Unexpectedly, in the next second, when I saw my father holding my mother's hand, about to jump down, I fiercely shouted, "Dad!" Hearing my shout, my parents turned around, their faces filled with infinite shame. "Shen Xun, Dad is sorry. I've ruined the rest of your life." Hearing this, I immediately yelled frantically, "You didn't wrong me, Dad. Your theory is correct. Just hold on for 2 more days, and the Hong Kong stocks will rebound." As my words fell, my parents were visibly stunned for a moment, but only for a moment. "Shen Xun, the money Dad used to cover the positions has been cut off. Stop trying to persuade me. Dad can't let you shoulder a 4 million debt." Damn it, I had dreamed countless times of returning to this day, but I never expected that even though God granted my wish, my father was already in despair. No matter what I said, I couldn't change his determination to die. There was only one chance, so I quickly took out my pager and roared at my father, "Dad, I have a way to cover the positions." "What?" Hearing my words, my parents froze in place. In 1998, closely following the Asian financial crisis, Hong Kong stocks were severely hit, and the Zhuzhou financial market suffered massive damage. The god of investment, Soros, saw through Asia's financial landscape and used massive funds to short the market, raking in billions of dollars. This was textbook history. But according to my research, this was because Zhuzhou lacked investment opportunities, creating a financial loophole that allowed Soros to take advantage. So, racing against time, I said, "Let me show you a piece of news." As early as August 8th, the Zhuzhou government announced a bailout. The Zhuzhou Bank is going to release funds to protect the Hong Kong market. As long as we survive these 2 days, the day after tomorrow, it will rebound. Protect the Hong Kong stocks? At this, my father frowned. Is that possible? The reason Hong Kong stocks crashed so quickly is that the government can't bail them out. If they do, it will require a massive sacrifice, causing inflation and subsequently collapsing the entire Zhuzhou economy. Seeing that my father didn't believe me, I continued to explain, "Dad, listen to me. I've studied Zhuzhou's economic environment. Zhuzhou is currently in a difficult period for investment. Countries around the world have cut off their investments in Zhuzhou. Hong Kong stocks are the only outlet. Currently, Zhuzhou is still issuing more currency and vigorously developing infrastructure. Aren't you a trader? This is going long. Going long means continuously buying investment assets. They might not bring short-term returns, but holding them long-term will form a sustainable economic lifeline. Since the Zhuzhou government wants to go long, to make these infrastructure investments useful, they can't possibly let the Hong Kong stock market, this financial outlet, collapse. They will definitely bail it out." Makes sense. Somehow, Shen Xun's father, a trader who had worked his whole life, actually felt that his son's words surpassed his years of experience. After all, finance is closely tied to policy. "But Dad, you don't need to worry about the margin call." Shen Xun hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "You know, I've been helping you watch the market recently, and I also joined a company. The boss saw my ability and gave me a corporate account with 45 million in it. You should know what that means, right?" "What?" Shen Xun's father stood frozen as if struck by lightning. Every securities group is composed of a board of directors and a regulatory commission. To make money, the board usually opens a corporate account to fish for extra cash in the stock market using insider information to buy the dip. This behavior is called market manipulation, but this extra cash must be made safely. "Shen Xun, you can't touch that money," Shen Xun's father said in despair. "If they find out, they'll kill you." Shen Xun, however, was unwilling to let this opportunity go. He clenched his jaw and refused to back down. "Dad, if you still want me to live a good life, give me 2 days. Give me your private account and let me turn the tables." Was it possible? As of today, Shen Xun's father had lost a total of 2 million and needed 5 million to cover his positions. However, if Shen Xun used the group's money and lost it, it wouldn't be something 4.5 million could solve. Looking at Shen Xun's cold and resolute eyes, Father Shen knew he wasn't joking. Helplessly walking down from the rooftop with Mother Shen, Father Shen trembling handed over his private account's ID, password, and documents to Shen Xun. Xiao Xun, if you lose, I'll jump down with you. Shen Xun said coldly, I won't lose. In his previous life, Shen Xun, who had already become a big shot in the financial world, had a famous saying, in the financial market, there's only one chance. No matter how much knowledge you have or how bold your judgment is, if you don't seize that one chance, it can instantly ruin your family. Are you willing to believe in your own theory? A massive gamble where winning means instant immense wealth, and losing means total bankruptcy and a ruined family. Countless investors, sinking in the stock market, holding on to the belief of certain victory, gambled their everything. But how many returned empty-handed? Shen Xun quickly left. Watching his resolute back, Father Shen was heartbroken. It's all your fault. You've dragged our son's life into this, you old bastard. Mother Shen completely broke down, kneeling on the ground. At Yuanhao Securities Group, Shen Xun rushed back to his workstation immediately. His manager, Ivan, saw Shen Xun return and looked at him with extreme surprise and disdain. You actually didn't jump? Millions in debt, all your net worth lost in it, and you're still thinking of making a comeback, you might ask. Well, just die. Under his urging, the employees returned to their workstations. But Ivan saw Shen Xun nervously operating something. Does his family account still have money? Ivan wondered. In front of the digital computer, Shen Xun forced himself to calm down and took a deep breath. After opening the corporate account, he swiftly entered his father's private account. Through a series of complex operations, he transferred 4.5 million from the corporate account. This was 4.5 million. Finance is gambling, a game with no turning back. Even knowing that Hong Kong stocks would rebound in 2 days, Shen Xun still sweated nervously. Not far away, Ivan kept observing him. With his years of securities experience, he was certain Shen Xun was covering his positions. However, Shen Xun's operations didn't stop. After staring at the screen for a full 10 minutes, Shen Xun's eyes suddenly hardened, and he logged into the corporate account again. Ivan sensed something was wrong and slowly walked toward Shen Xun. Shen Xun stared intently at the digital computer, a bold idea rising in his mind. Leverage. The most fascinating part of the financial game is using continuous leverage to make profits grow exponentially. 40 million. All in. He tapped the keyboard twice. Shen Xun watched helplessly as the 45 million in the corporate account was cleared out. He let out a long breath, recalling the thrill of betting everything in his past life. A crazy idea rose in his mind. There's only this one chance. As long as I forcefully endure these 2 days, I can absolutely buy the dip. I'll take a vicious bite out of Soros. After the funds were transferred, Shen Xun quickly logged out of both accounts and sprinted out of the group. Now, even if Ivan were an idiot, he'd know Shen Xun was running away out of guilt. Holy shit, what the hell did this kid do? Did he embezzle public funds? Ivan couldn't figure it out. After all, Shen Xun didn't have access to the group's funds. However, digital computers in this era didn't have the function to delete file records. Under Ivan's inquiry, the 2 terrifying fund transfers made his legs go soft, almost dropping him to his knees. What? He actually touched President Yang's account. The entire night, Shen Xun sprinted through the streets of Beihai City. He knew that Yuanhao Securities Group's chairman, Yang Dong, was constantly looking for him, wishing he could skin him alive. But this wasn't enough. Hurriedly arriving at a probably infinite and mating and store, Shen Xun calmed down, borrowed some A4 paper, and wrote a full 2,000-word summary, faxing it to the chairman's office of Yuanhao Securities Group. Then, he called his childhood friend's landline. Do you want to die? Did you touch President Yang's funds? Because he had previously paged him, his friend Wang. You had waited a long time, only to start cursing the moment he picked up. Wang Yu's father was a business partner of Yang Dong, the chairman of Yuanhao Securities Group. Back then, it was also him who introduced Shen Xun to Yuanhao Securities Group. I'm sorry, Shen Xun said guiltily. Brother, I'm putting you in a tough spot this time. Don't say that. Wang Yu was a friend who had grown up wearing the same pants as Shen Xun. Their bond was as deep as blood brothers. Do you have money on you? Do you have a place to go? I'll give you an address. Go hide there first. Hearing these words, Shen Xun's heart warmed. During his most difficult times, his basic needs were mostly taken care of by Wang Yu. He knew this rich kid truly didn't care about money or fame, only about their brotherhood. Ah, you, I want to borrow some money from you. Bullshit, aren't I just about to lend you money? Wang, you scolded. I still have some in my card. No, a large sum. Shen Xun's eyes gleamed sharply like a hunter's. Brother, I know your dad left you a 5 million inheritance and a house. If you mortgage that house, you can pull out 7 million. Lend all 12 million to me. What? Wang Yu was dumbfounded. How am I supposed to get that out? I don't even have 1.2 million in my card. You, trust me. Shen Xun knew he didn't have time to explain to Wang Yu, emphasizing, after this, I guarantee you a lifetime of wealth and prosperity. I'm hanging up. Wait for my call tomorrow. Not waiting for Wang Yu to reply, Shen Xun hung up the phone. Then, he non-stop called Yang Dong's office. At this moment, in Yang Dong's office, Anne Anxious middle-aged man picked up the phone while a famous economist waited nearby. Bang! Shen Xun, you dare touch my money? After learning the news, Yang Dong was instantly furious, slamming the table and standing up. The thought of the board members investigating this 45 million made him tremble with anxiety. This money couldn't see the light of day. President Yang, when you gave me the account, there was only 20 million in it. I helped you earn 45 million. Yang Dong's eyes were bloodshot. If it weren't for our board's 200 million backing you and giving you insider info, what kind of ability do you have to claim you could earn 20 million? What Yang Dong said was the truth. In reality, as long as this money was given to any trader with a bit of professional knowledge, they could earn it back. But I'm giving you a chance to multiply your net worth by 10 times. Shen Xun's incredibly cold voice came through the phone. As long as you leave me alone from now on and give me 48 hours. You're crazy. Yang Dong was so angry smoke was practically coming out of his ears. He sat back in his chair with a headache. You invested in Hong Kong stocks. Hong Kong stocks. Couldn't you have invested in Japanese stocks, you idiot? If Shen Xun had invested in Japanese stocks, even if he lost, Yang Dong could use the board to recover over 10 million. But given the current situation of Hong Kong stocks, his money would likely be completely wiped out. My thesis summary has already been sent to you. This is an opportunity for you to skyrocket to success. Go to hell. Yang Dong casually hung up the phone and cursed loudly. I'll kill you within 24 hours, you piece of trash. However, in the silent office, Yang Dong despairingly propped up his head. On the desk lay a fax. He had no mood to look at this garbage. Take it and look at it. Yang Dong irritably threw the fax to the economist beside him, Professor Zhang Kang from the Cambridge School of Economics. President Yang, rest assured. With me here, you can at least recover some costs, Zhang Kang stood up and said. However, after taking the fax and reading it carefully, his eyes widened more and more. His emotions fluctuated like a roller coaster, shocked to the extreme. How is it? Yang Dong took a sip of water, trying to calm his mood and think simply. But Zhang Kang stared straight at Yang Dong, swallowed hard, and said, you should add 200 million to your position. Pfft. Yang Dong spat out his water. Crazy. Everyone's gone crazy. Yang Dong felt like this was a nightmare. President Yang, I'm really not joking. Take a look first. Zhang Kang hurriedly handed the fax to Yang Dong. At this moment, hearing the name Shen Xun, Yang Dong wished he could summon the king of hell to drag Shen Xun down to the 18th level of hell. Making him read this thesis summary was definitely an extremely difficult task. Zhuzhou economic report for the next 10 years, Shen Xun. Fuck. He's pretty arrogant, Yang Dong cursed. As a member of the group's board of directors, Yang Dong was also a mastermind who had manipulated billions in funds. What kind of storms hadn't he seen? However, after reading this thesis, his eyes slightly narrowed. There was a profound mystery here. He read it again. In this thesis summary, Shen Xun perfectly pointed out Zhuzhou's bailout policy and concluded that this was a once-in-a-century opportunity. Elder Zhang, what do you think? Yang Dong became clear-headed, unable to make up his mind for a moment. This summary surpasses countless lengthy theses and analyses. Zhang Kang stroked his chin, frowning deeply. Was this really written by a young man in his early 20s? I really can't believe this was written by some greenhorn. This is absolutely at the level of an academician. Academician. In the 90s says, even a professor was someone a big shot like Yang Dong would treat with utmost respect. What was the concept of an academician? He hadn't even met one. Elder Zhang, do you mean we really should continue to buy the dip? Yang Dong found it hard to believe, but after pondering for a long time, Zhang Kang couldn't come up with an answer. Finally, he sighed. My level is too low. The person who wrote this report has insights that transcend this era. You can only get the answer by asking him. Early morning, in the bushes at the entrance of his house, Shen Xun, who had squatted there all night, vaguely heard a series of footsteps. He suddenly opened his eyes, only to see a fat man wearing a gold necklace leading 7 or 8 thugs, hurrying non-stop towards Shen Xun's small villa. Brothers, don't break the stuff later, just beat the people. Remember, you must snatch the property deed. Shen Yuan. It was this bastard. Shen Xun looked at him, his eyes instantly turning bloodshot, so furious he looked like he wanted to eat his flesh and blood. In his previous life, after Father Shen died, Shen Yuan used a forged contract to take away their family's villa. In reality, he had only lent out a little over 1 million, but the villa itself was worth around 700,000. Not to mention, the land this villa sat on was extremely valuable commercial land. After my dad died, this animal used this land to rake in millions in profits. Shen Xun gritted his teeth. This bastard lent us money just to snatch this land away. Sometimes, relatives are even more ruthless than strangers. But right now, he couldn't show himself. In Shen Xun's memory, this bastard Shen Yuan drove here, and he had a habit. He never trusted anyone, not even his daughter. All the company's seals and documents were kept in his car, sealed with a password lock. Shen Yuan, this time I'll consider it avenging my past life. But after tomorrow, I can give you a chance. Shen Xun's eyes narrowed slightly, a trace of ruthlessness flashing in them. As long as you still have a shred of conscience, after this is done, I'll definitely give you a share. When Shen Yuan led the thugs, swaggering into the small villa, Shen Xun took out a steel wire from his hand and sprinted toward Shen Yuan's small Buick. Click, click. In his previous life, a disheartened Shen Xun had done everything to make a living: waiter, truck driver, you name it. It could be said that these skills from the bottom had all integrated into his blood, becoming his survival abilities. With a snap, Shen Xun used just a single steel wire to pry open Shen Yuan's car door. What entered his sight was an iron box sealed with a password. Shen Xun smiled faintly, but then he saw a young girl in the back seat staring at him. Cousin, Shen Xun gasped. This was a graceful, slender girl wearing an emerald green dress, absolutely beautiful. She was about 1.7 meters tall, with hair like a waterfall, eyes like the moon, and skin as white as milk. She exuded an indescribable fresh aura. Sister Qian, I have some business. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you. Shen Xun helplessly sat in the driver's seat. Cousin, Shen Qian was stunned at first, then pushed Shen Xun. What are you doing? If my dad finds out you're driving his car, you're dead. Bullshit, would he dare kill me? Shen Xun said disdainfully. He's all talk. Shen Qian froze in place, not knowing what to do. She felt that her cousin was a bit different today. In the past, Shen Xun was always silent and only knew how to study finance. Today, not only was he bolder, but he also had a distinct masculine charm. Sister Qian, I'll drive you back actually. Forget it. Go to your mom's place. Is your mom in Beihai? Without waiting for an explanation, Shen Xun quickly closed the car door and started the Buick. Under Shen Qian's extremely astonished gaze, she asked, Cousin, didn't uncle borrow money from our family? Aren't I here to make money? Shen Xun patted the iron box. Shen Qian said helplessly, even I don't know this password. Just as Shen Qian hadn't finished speaking, click, Shen Xun casually reached out a hand and pressed force, instantly opening the iron box. How did you know? Shen Qian was shocked. Idiot. Shen Xun didn't even glance at Shen Qian, driving toward the suburbs of Gangsheng City. This isn't an ordinary password box. It can only be opened by pressing the password while the car is starting. Shen Qian was so surprised she couldn't close her mouth. She was Shen Yuan's daughter, and even she didn't know that. All right, enough nonsense, Shen Xun frowned and said, I'm going to meet a friend later. Just follow me today. I'll take you to eat and drink well. But whatever happens, you must keep it a secret. Facing the domineering Shen Xun, Shen Qian felt a bit of girlish timidity, staring intently at Shen Xun's profile. Not long after, in the new district of Gangsheng City, you, how are things on your end? Shen Xun arrived at a hidden public phone booth and called Wang Yu. But a sneaky voice came from behind him. Fuck, why did you come here? To make a call again? Can you be more careful? Wang Yu? Shen Xun turned around, only to see a tall man wearing a baseball cap, holding a brick phone, approaching him. This phone number is from a brick phone? Shen Xun asked in surprise. Bullshit, Wang, you cursed. Didn't my dad tell me to keep a low profile? He told me not to say anything. But I can tell you, you absolutely cannot invest this money in the stock market. I am investing it in the stock market, Shen Xun said without hiding it. Are you crazy? Wang Yu glared at him, then couldn't help but look around, hunching his body. Bro, I'm not joking with you. I couldn't get that much money. I forced my dad's finance department to withdraw this. I need to go hide for a while. How much is it? Shen Xun quickly asked. Over 8 million, Wang Yu said, his face pale. I slipped my dad a few sleeping pills. When he wakes up and finds out, he's definitely going to skin me alive. True, brother. Although it wasn't as much as expected, 8 million was enough to satisfy half of Shen Xun's plan. Seeing Wang Yu's dad's Mercedes parked behind him, Shen Xun patted his shoulder and went to the trunk to get the money. You can't run away. You still have to do me a favor. What? Bro, do you really want me dead? My dad will definitely kill me. Wang, you punched Shen Xun. Shen Xun, without hesitation, took out 2 travel bags full of cash from the trunk and said coldly, relax. No matter what, you're his biological son. I'm going to pull off something huge. Once this is done, the money we get will be enough for us to live lavishly around the world for a lifetime. We only have over 30 hours now. Help me find a few accountants, take a few tens of thousands to buy a shell company, and set up a securities account. Today I'll get 5 million, and I'll transfer this 13 million in batches into the accounts of these companies. Staring straight at Shen Xun, Wang Yu suddenly felt that this childhood friend he grew up with had become a bit unfamiliar. Bro, I'll tell you the truth. If we don't get this 8 million back, my dad will very likely go bankrupt. Wang, you trembled, terrified of his family's failure. This was his entire cash flow. It won't happen. Shen Xun grabbed Wang Yu and said, come with me, let's get things done first. Later, I'll call your dad and give him a huge gift. In Changping Village, Beihai City, a noble-looking middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses was searching all over the world for Shen Xun's parents. Finally, with his driver's help, the middle-aged man found the grief-stricken father Shen in his rural bungalow. Old Wang. This person was exactly Wang Yu's father. And what made father and mother Shen despair was that they learned Wang Yu, for Shen Xun's sake, had swindled 8 million. It's a sin. Mother Shen cried her eyes out, constantly hitting father Shen's shoulder. How could I have married a man like you? Now, how can I face the Wang family? How can I face my son? Sister-in-law stopped crying. Although Father Wang's face was also very ugly, he could still keep his composure and instead comforted the two. That animal son of mine actually drugged me. Sigh. I knew this day would come. Old Wang Father Shen was in tears. Father Wang stared at Father Shen's tears and said firmly, "Stop crying. Who told us to be comrades in arms, right?" But calming down, Father Wang felt something was a bit weird. Your brother Shen Yuan has already called the police. His daughter seems to have been taken away by Xiao Xun too, but Xiao Xun doesn't seem like the type to act recklessly. Old Shen, is that formula you researched really reliable? It's reliable. Father Shen gritted his teeth with certainty. Sigh. Father Wang sighed. If my useless son had even 1/10 of Xiao Xun's courage, I wouldn't have to worry for the rest of my life. Compared to Father Shen, Father Wang could still weather the storm. He looked at Father Shen with some hesitation. Do you think Xiao Xun was triggered by something? Just now, I got a call from that little animal. Xiao Xun told me to give him 1 day, and he can win it all back. He also told me to buy some oil, saying the government will come to borrow money from me. Have you heard this news? Oil futures? Father Shen frowned. In the structure of the stock market, imitating the US bond market, futures based on oil had just emerged in the 90s. Xiao Xun means that if the government steps in to bail out the market, they can't possibly just print money. They'll probably extract a portion from private futures. Father Shen stroked his chin. Father Wang was puzzled. Wouldn't that be a huge loss, giving it away for free? Father Shen tried his best to stay calm and said, right now, isn't it only people within the system who can buy national bonds? I guess the government will use national bonds to exchange for it, and it will be an excessive amount of national bonds. When the time comes, you can leave these bonds for Wang Yu to enjoy, or use them as a credit endorsement for your company. It has its benefits. Holy shit, really? Hearing Father Shen's profound judgment, Father Wang was a bit dazed. He didn't know if the final outcome would really be like this. But ginger gets spicier as it gets older. As the boss of a real estate company, how could Father Wang go bankrupt just from losing a bit of cash flow? He just hadn't told his prodigal son. Old Shen, I still have 2 million in my account. I was going to use it to save you, but it's not enough to cover your positions. How about this? Since those old fogies on the board are definitely going to cause trouble for me this time, I might as well buy some oil futures. What if the government really comes to exchange national bonds with me? I'll still be able to give them an explanation. Not long after, by obtaining Shen Yuan's private seal, ID, and tax certificates, Shen Xun successfully exploited a loophole in the financial system. Through buying and selling bonds, he managed to withdraw 5 million in cash. This 5 million was Shen Yuan's entire asset, and part of it even belonged to his partners. If he found out about this, he would probably be so furious that smoke would come out of his ears, wishing he could eat Shen's son alive. In the hotel room, Wang Yu looked at the quiet Shen Qian with a bit of infatuation and swallowed hard. It wasn't until Shen Xun returned, carrying 2 travel bags of cash, that he snapped back to reality. Looking at the 4 travel bags on the floor, he gasped, "Good lord, Xiao. Soon. I've never seen so much money in my life. There's over 10 million here, right?" Useless. Shen Xun smacked Wang Yu's head, then handed Shen Qian a bottle of water. "Thanks." Shen Qian nodded, staring at Shen Xun's profile. "Cousin, is this money taken from my dad?" "Yeah," Shen Xun said coldly. "Don't worry. After today, I'll multiply this money by 10 times, making your dad so happy he'll want to jump off a building." Xiao Xun, will this really work? Wang, you still couldn't believe Shen Xun's words. Didn't you say you already invested 45 million using your boss's account? Why don't we just run? We'll take this money, live lavishly around the world, and come back when it's all spent. Don't worry, my dad is very capable. He'll earn the money back in a few years. Get lost. Shen Xun's tone was somewhat stern, his eyes full of solemnity. He hadn't officially traded in a long time, especially after his rise to fame, taking down billions of assets in the US stock market. Reborn into this life, he not only had the hope of redeeming his regrets but also a natural sense of mission. That money from my boss will probably earn back over 700 million. Most of it will go to him. It's enough to keep me out of jail and conveniently get me 10 or 20 million. That's so shady. Wang Yu exclaimed in shock. Shady my ass, Shen. Xun rolled his eyes at him. I got all this secretly. Not going to jail is already good enough. Ah, you, Wang, you still couldn't figure out what Shen Xun's ultimate goal was. Bro, why are you making such a huge scene? Just to grab some cash and run away to live lavishly. The risk is way too high, isn't it? Bullshit, Shen Xun muttered the name Soros. In his previous life, as a trader who personally experienced this financial storm, Shen Xun could never forget the aftermath. Countless citizens lost their jobs, people lined up on rooftops to jump. Every securities group was filled with endless curses and wails. Even though the Zhuzhou government's bailout was already doing its best, Hong Kong stocks, as the only financial outlet at this stage, were of the utmost importance. For every dollar that flowed into the pockets of foreign forces, thousands of people would lose their jobs or even jump off buildings. Xiao Xun, just tell me what to do. Wang Yu fell backward, lying flat on the bed, stretching lazily without any image. I've arranged all the people. Set up 7 companies. You can operate them however you want. No problem. Shen Xun looked at Shen Qian. Sister Qian, I remember, you studied financial management, right? Yes, that's good. Shen Xun rubbed his neck, a murderous aura blooming in his eyes. In 8 hours, a foreign force will parachute into the Hong Kong market. What we need to do is find the flow of his cash and buy the dip at the same time as him. However much he buys, we buy. We'll make him spit blood. We absolutely won't let him earn this money easily." Hearing Shen Xun say this, Wang Yu instantly perked up. Looking at it this way, it seems there's a personal grudge involved. As time ticked by second, at this moment, countless people in Beihai City were paying attention to the movements of Hong Kong stocks. In the chairman's office of Yuan House Securities Group, Yang Dong held his brick phone, staring at the digital computer, hesitating whether to throw the remaining 200 million in. In Changping Village, Father Wang and Father Shen held the phone, ready to listen to the latest updates on Hong Kong stocks at any time. In the office of Shen Yuan Real Estate Company, after finding out that Shen Xun had invested the money into Hong Kong stocks, Shen Yuan could only helplessly wait for news, hoping Shen Xun could turn the tables and return the money to him. And Ivan, he absolutely didn't believe Shen Xun had even a sliver of hope for a comeback, yet he used his professional skills to stare intently at the movements of the Hong Kong stocks. Everyone's expectations, hopes, and prayers rested on these remaining 24 hours. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, a man in a suit and leather shoes, under the worshipful gaze of a crowd of financial tycoons, officially injected 4 billion into the Hong Kong stock accounts. Friends, let us look forward to the financial behemoth of Zhuzhou letting out a howl of agony. Xiao Shun. After Shen Xun taught Wang Yu how to read capital flows, soon, in front of a temporarily assembled computer, Wang Yu violently shook Shen Xun awake and roared, "It's in! It's in!" Mingxi Shipbuilding Group's stock price went up by 0.2. No, 0.3, it's still going in. Shen Xun abruptly got up. Under Shen Qian's calm gaze, he quickly grabbed a bottle of water and stepped forward to observe carefully. Very good. This is that bastard Soros laying out his layout. He wants to quietly pour billions of funds into every blue-chip stock, and then let the junk stocks hit the limit down. Limit down? Wang Yu asked in surprise. If it hits the limit down, doesn't it just stop? How the hell do you make money then? What do you know? Shen Xun rolled his eyes at him. The reason Hong Kong stocks in the 90s were so crazy, making countless people intoxicated, is because they didn't use a macroeconomic control mechanism, but a reservoir mechanism. In a reservoir, it's very hard to distinguish which is a blue chip and which is a junk stock. As the market conditions improve, a rising tide lifts all boats. But there's always a day when the dam breaks. When the junk stocks are dead in the water, the funds truly in the blue chip stocks on the market will keep the stock market running, and everyone will buy in. I get it. Wang Yu's eyes lit up. The good stocks prices will skyrocket. The bad stocks will also rise as the market rebounds, but actually, only professionals can tell the good from the bad, right? Yeah, Shen Xun patted Wang Yu's shoulder. A rising tide lifts all boats. These words are the hard truth of the stock market. Soon, as Wang Yu continued to monitor, Shen Qian on the side couldn't help but sit over, staring at the computer screen. Look at Xu Shiji. Look at Guangxi Steel Group. Stop looking at Hong Kong stocks. Look at Zhuzhou stocks. See if any large sums of funds are being pulled out. Throughout the whole process, Shen Qian watched from the side. To be honest, Shen Qian didn't understand the stock market very well, but strangely, Shen Xun had already read out dozens of names. The enterprises represented by these names couldn't be detected by the naked eye as blue chips, junk stocks. Yet Shen Xun could grasp the strange capital flows every single time and record them perfectly. The opponent's layout is excellent. Shen Xun was so excited. You, take the money and distribute it evenly among those 7 companies. Qian, you're in charge of reconciling the accounts for these companies. Buy the blue chip stocks we listed, one by one. Wang, you interjected, won't we get caught doing it like this? Caught my ass. Shen Xun knocked him on the back of the head, and rolled his eyes. Others are playing with billions, and we only have a little over 10 million. Do you think everyone is a walking calculator? How could they possibly notice us? But then, Wang, you asked a critical question. Where are you investing your boss's 45 million? Suddenly, a wicked, scheming smile appeared on Shen Xun's face. He sneered. Are you waiting until he's in trouble to find out? After Wang Yu left, Shen Qian was frantically making calls and keeping the books, looking a bit overwhelmed. Sister Qian, can you handle it? Shen Xun stepped forward and asked. Sitting by the bed, Shen Qian had exposed her beautiful legs for comfort. They were barely 10 centimeters apart. A waft of sweet fragrance drifted into Shen Xun's nose, leaving him momentarily stunned. He wouldn't have known if he hadn't looked, but one glance gave him a start. How had he never noticed before? She was truly beautiful. I'm fine. I'm done. Shen Qian handed over an A4 paper. What? Now, it was Shen Xun's turn to be surprised. In his plan, to maximize firepower, he needed to invest in 20 stocks, and adjust them based on real-time fluctuations, the so-called revenue model. But keeping track of these accounts was incredibly difficult. How to invest? Which one gets more? Which gets less for the best return? Investing in any of them carried risks, but investing too little meant no profit. These financial, conceptual calculation methods weren't exactly a secret, but they required immense judgment, experience, and what Shen Xun in his past life often called computing power. Computing power was the human brain's ability to calculate. A genius with exceptional computing power could simulate the entire stock market's changes in a short time. Right now, Shen Xun looked at the A4 paper Shen Qian handed him. He examined it closely and suddenly remembered something. Does your dad forbid you from interacting with others? Shen Qian nodded. I remember your dad lost a lot of money in business. Right? Shen Qian stared straight into Shen Xun's eyes. The money your family has was all earned back through your financial management? Hearing this, Shen Qian hesitated for a moment before nodding, looking a bit shy. Shen Xun was overjoyed. He never expected a genius to be right beside him. What did Shen Qian's ability mean? Top-tier computing power. Foresight and insight rivaling a supercomputer. Once these abilities were applied to the stock market, the results would be terrifying. Making hundreds of billions for Shen Xun would be a piece of cake. I understand. Shen Xun suppressed his excitement and tried to stay calm. Keep monitoring Soros's capital flow. I'll contact the boss of Yuanhao Securities and have him close the net. At this moment, Shen Qian couldn't detect the slightest ripple in Shen Xun's expression, so naturally, she had no idea just how astonishing her talent was. The next moment, when Shen Xun used Wang Yu's brick phone to call Yang Dong picked up with mixed feelings. He immediately asked, is this Shen Xun? Hey, say something. Are you Shen Xun? You should still have money in your account, right? Shen Xun asked without hesitation. Yang Dong was momentarily speechless. He recalled that just 40 hours ago, Shen Xun was merely a low-level employee, his white glove. But now, his fate was tied to him, and Shen Xun had even become an economic genius worshipped by Jiang Kang. What do you want? Yang Dong stammered. You still want to mess with my money? In the next half hour, a sum of money will be injected into Qin Mining Group. I want you to throw all your funds into it. If you do that, Shen Xun revealed a wicked smile, we can make those people earn $1 billion less. Yang Dong was completely dumbfounded. Those people? Who are those people? Leaving that single sentence, Shen Xun hung up the phone, leaving Yang Dong standing there in a daze. Professor Jiang Kang, who was beside him, noticed this. Upon questioning Yang Dong, his face turned pale. That's right, those people. Jiang Kang stood up, shocked. So that's it. I didn't even realize that there was another pool of capital in our stock market. Looking at the utterly confused Yang Dong beside him, Jiang Kang's sense of worship surged. He dragged Yang Dong to the digital computer and said, Boss Yang, you still don't get it? This drop and rebound in the Hong Kong stock market are all tied to a foreign capital fund. This foreign capital is scooping up our Hong Kong stocks, and more importantly, it's destroying the Hong Kong stock market. What? Yang Dong looked closely and finally, with Jiang Kang's guidance, saw a clue, and this plunged him into profound shock. If Jiang Kang's theory held true, it meant that Shen Xun's every move wasn't just for his parents or himself, but for the Hong Kong stock market. He was protecting the Hong Kong stock market, trying to claw back as much capital as possible from the enemy and keep the money in the hands of the nation's citizens. Every generation brings forth new talents to rule the land. Jiang Kang's face flushed red with excitement, and he waved his hands in pleasant surprise. Having such a young talent is truly a blessing for our Hong Kong. Boss Yang, may I ask which district this young hero Shen Xun is from? I'll immediately send someone know. I'll make a call right now to arrange for him to enter the Economic Department of Hong Kong and take a high position. Yang Dong was still in a state of shock. He froze for a moment before realizing he's not from Hong Kong. He's from the mainland Beihai, I think. Meanwhile, in the hostel, as Shen Xun continued his operations, Shen Qian successfully distributed the over 10 million in funds, stealthily across various blue-chip stocks. At the same time, a private corporate account injected 200 million into a blue-chip stock named Qin Mining Group. Wang Yu pressed his face against the screen, puzzled. Why did you have your boss pump all his money into this group? Do you know their executives? Shen Xun shook his head. Then why Wang Yu was astonished. After all, Shen Xun's actions would make Qin Mining Group one of the ultimate victors. And this victor wasn't even Shen Xun's ally. It was literally a pie falling from the sky. But Shen Xun's eyes gleamed with deep thought as he murmured, using this incident to establish a stable, blue-chip foundation for the mainland will be more beneficial for the stability of the Hong Kong stock market. What? Wang Yu couldn't understand these terms. Beside him, Shen Qian was also a bit confused. The mainland's stock market and Hong Kong's were worlds apart. To put it bluntly, even if the mainland market had massive funds, it couldn't reach the scale of Hong Kong's market and become the financial center of all of Asia. Why did Shen Xun care so much about the mainland? But not long after, Wang Yu pointed at the digital computer in shock and yelled, Holy crap, the stock prices are rising. On the screen, the prices of the dozen or so stocks containing Shen Xun's funds began to climb steadily. They went from $1 or $2 to $3 or $5 in just 10 minutes. This meant Soros had started buying the dip. This financial storm had officially begun. Let it rise. Shen Xun's expression didn't change in the slightest. Wang Yu, who was usually indifferent to the stock market, frantically operated the computer and asked Shen Qian to record the capital fluctuations. Sister Qian, how much have we made so far? Only double, Shen Qian calculated. We haven't even officially entered the game yet. Only one stock is rising. Double. Wang Yu's mouth fell wide open. He had always been a rich kid who wasn't very sensitive to money, but even so, He knew how exaggerated the concept of doubling was. It meant that in less than 24 hours since they entered the hostel, Shen Xun's invested assets had doubled. And this doubling process only took 10 minutes. Oh my god, Wang Yu's face turned pale, his body trembling. He felt like he was witnessing a miracle, and it was a miracle he was helping to create. This is nothing. Later, I'll show you something huge. Shen Xun stepped forward and patted his shoulder. Then, he had Shen Qian dump the shares of 2 blue-chip stocks. The stock price, originally around $1, plummeted because the shares were dumped at a low price, instantly dropping to $0.8. Isn't this depreciating, Wang Yu interjected. Shen Xun just smiled. Sure enough, in a corner on the other side of the world, in a room filled with greedy men, a young operator controlling a computer exclaimed in surprise, Mr. Soros, one of our blue-chip stocks has dropped to $0.8. Someone is dumping shares. Behind the operator, a middle-aged man walked over dismissively. Just some fool. He took one look and paid it no more mind. That fool saw there was no way out and is just cutting his losses. Keep injecting capital and push the price back up. Yes, sir. 5 minutes later, a miraculous thing happened right before Wang Yu's eyes. The price, which was originally $0.8, climbed back up to $1 or $2. Looking at the trend, there was even room for it to rise further. What the hell is going on? Shen Xun's expression looked incredibly wicked. He patted Shen Qian's shoulder. Sister Qian, do you know what's happening? Shen Qian was silent for a moment, frowning. The stock market made a mistake? Wrong. A sharp glint flashed in Shen Xun's eyes. At the end of the day, the stock market is a game between people. Because that old bastard, Soros, wants to make a fortune by buying the dip. For these blue chips that he has high expectations for, he'll definitely buy up as much as he can. Shen Xun explained to them what was going on. When I dumped them just now, he realized that we retail investors still hold a portion of the shares. So he deliberately drove the price up to lure us into continuing to cut our losses. Then what do we do now, Wang? You panicked. If this continued, they would lose even more. We've already lost a portion. Keep dumping. Shen Xun sneered. This time, dump the price down to $1. A few minutes later, in Soros's room, the young operator noticed the anomaly again. This time, he didn't need to report it to Soros, because Soros had been watching closely, trying to dump again. Saw the price go up and want to make a little more? Huh? Soros let out a mocking laugh. The people of Juzhou truly are the greediest for petty gains. They only ever focus their interests on these small fries. Keep pushing it up. Push it to 1.6 and let him dump. Yes, sir. Soros driving the price up meant he had to invest more capital. Meanwhile, in front of Shen Xun, Shen Qian, and Wang Yu, when the stock price rose to 1.6 again, Wang Yu looked at this price and went wild with joy. Holy shit, we're making a killing. Wang Yu instantly got carried away. Soon, if we sell the stocks now, can we net tens of millions? Wang Yu was going crazy. Just in this back and forth, they had actually created tens of millions in profit, and they didn't have to do anything. Just by watching the computer and issuing a few commands, they could pocket this money. This was the 1990s. What did 10 million mean? Even for Wang Yu's wealthy family, a top-tier Mercedes was only $1 million. With 10 million, if houses in the mainland were 50,000 each, how many could they buy? However, as the mastermind behind it all, Shen Xun chuckled mysteriously and asked, Shen Qian, Sister Qian, do you know how to operate right now to maximize profits? Shen Qian felt a bit of pressure. She calculated on her notebook for a moment. Could it be when the stock price rises to 1.6, those retail investors out there will get the news and start cutting their losses, and we take the opportunity to buy these stocks back? Shen Qian's answer was nothing short of perfect, but it wasn't the only answer, right? Shen Xun's eyes stared at the computer as fiercely as a hungry wolf. Listen to my command. We'll operate the remaining stocks using this pattern and drive all their prices up. Hearing this, Shen Qian didn't quite understand what Shen Xun was trying to do, while Wang Yu felt an immense heartache. This was double the profit. If Shen Xun kept repeating this operation, wouldn't he be throwing all that double profit away just to drive up the stock prices? What was the point of that? At this moment, in Soros's office. Ha ha ha. Soros covered his mouth, laughing uncontrollably. Those Juzhou pigs. They received the news at the same time and are preparing to cut their losses together. Let them. However much they dump, we'll buy. And to put on a good show, we'll drive the price straight up to $2 so they won't hesitate to sell everything. Soros was brimming with arrogance. As a financial master, he knew very well what kind of emotions the investors were reflecting behind every financial indicator. The previous loss cutting was clearly a tentative move by the investors still holding stocks. Now, he needed to immediately pump the price to eliminate their hesitation and make them completely clear out their stocks. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, the young operator continuously injected funds and ultimately bought up about 50 million in stocks. 50 million. Meanwhile, in the hostel, Wang Yu covered his eyes, unable to believe what he was seeing. He quickly grabbed Shen Xun. Xun, that's enough. It's tripled. Let's pull out. We've made enough. 3 times. In less than an hour, they had made triple the profit. Shen Xun knew very well that as long as he offloaded the last of the stocks, this operation would net him 50 million imsard. Then, he could use this money to pay off the debts. As long as he could keep 20 million and use it all to buy properties in the mainland, he would become a multi-billionaire in less than 20 years. And he wouldn't have to take any risks, collecting plenty of rental income every year. But under Wang Yu's expectant gaze, Shen Xun's expression remained entirely unmoved. He coldly ordered, "Sister Qian, throw all this money into Qin Mining Group. Push their stock price up to around 3.5. What? Sun, are you crazy?" Wang Yu interjected. "We made all this money just to boost Qin Mining Group's stock price?" Wang Yu even started to suspect if he was an undercover agent sent from the mainland. And at this moment, just as Shen Qian bought all their assets into Qin Mining Group, Yang Dong was also making his move. A total of 250 million in funds on the market inexplicably flowed into Qin Mining Group, instantly causing Qin Mining Group's stock price to surge from $0.6 to $4.8. Damn it, Soros slammed the table with a dark expression. Playing me. At this time, 4 streams of capital had flooded into Qin Mining Group. One was Shen Xun's, which, including the previously invested funds, totaled 65 million. One was Yang Dong's, which was his entire secret stash, totaling 200 million. Then there was Qin Mining Group's own initial capital of 500 million, intended for manipulating the market and harvesting retail investors. Finally, there was the 200 million Soros had prepared in advance to buy the dip. A total of 965 million in funds, nearly $1 billion. In this sluggish stock market, it made Qin Mining Group the only blue-chip stock to skyrocket, multiplying its stock price by nearly 10 times. Mr. Soros, Qin Group's stock price is still rising. It's already at $5.8, now $6.1. Sir, Qin Group's stock price has gone up tenfold. If we don't harvest now, we'll suffer massive losses. Mr. Soros, damn it. Bang, bang. Soros furiously smashed the desk. Originally, Soros wanted to use a chain strategy, which meant putting billions of dollars into different blue-chip stocks to harvest tens of billions in profits from the Hong Kong stock market. This led him to invest quite a bit of money in each blue chip. But for Qin Mining Group, out of the nearly 1 billion in total funds, he only provided 200 million. Even if the stock price rose tenfold, the lion's share of the profit was in someone else's hands and had little to do with him. Moreover, this would trigger a chain reaction. Mr. Soros, the prices of other stocks are starting to rise too. It's getting out of control. Another stock just hit $3. The Hang Seng Index has surpassed 3,500. Panic ensued. The sound of frantic typing echoed through the office. At this moment, he clearly realized that he had been played, and played hard. Qin Mining Group, muttering this name, his face turned the color of pig liver. It was hard to imagine that in this world, there was actually someone who understood the stock market as well as he did, and was even faster. This guy disguised himself as a retail investor, saw through my scheme, and lured me into taking the bait. He instantly felt dizzy. To think he had actually crashed and burned on this, as an exceptionally brilliant man who had hollowed out British finance in the 70s and continuously harvested the 4 Asian tigers in the 80s, creating tens of billions in profits. He had never lost to anyone. He never would have thought he'd be played like a fiddle. And although this kid was just a corporate trader, since he could understand these mechanisms, it meant he could harvest a country's stock market just like him. But why? He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought. Urged by the operator, he stopped waiting. Sell it all. Oh, and by the way, make a call for me and find out who the trader for Zhujiu's Qin Mining Group is. In the hostel, amidst the continuously rising stock market, the 3 of them, holding only Qin Mining Group shares, showed different expressions. Wang Yu was a bit depressed. After all, he felt Shen Xun had just thrown away the chance to make nearly 50 million. This was easy money with almost no risk. Shen Xun was completely unfazed. While rubbing Shen Qian's head, he enthusiastically explained the principles of the stock market to her. Shen Qian, on the other hand, was very frustrated. She couldn't understand how this cousin of hers had suddenly seemed to age 10 years. He treated her like a child at every turn. Moreover, the theories coming out of Shen Xun's mouth completely shattered the worldview of anyone listening. It practically overturned the traditional economics Shen Qian had been exposed to. Not long after, as Shen Xun turned on the TV, on Hong Kong's financial channel, a handsome host appeared on screen, covered in sweat, and excitedly announced, "Citizens, after an hour and a half of stock market fluctuations, the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index has broken through 4,000 points." Meanwhile, at almost the exact same time, Father Shen and Father Wang were in Changping Village, listening to the radio broadcast. Zhujiu officials announced countless citizens gathered in front of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The Hang Seng Index has broken through 4,500. The citizens cheered. Hong Kong officials dispatched the fire department. Qin Mining Group injects Zhujiu official funds of 2 billion. Shares are incredibly hard to come by. The Hang Seng Index continues to rise, and is about to break through the 6,000 mark. At this moment, a dizzy Wang Yu, just like those citizens, was nervously glued to the TV. He heard the gasps and synchronized voices of anticipation from citizens upstairs and downstairs. They silently chanted that number, 7,000. Wang Yu was completely sucked in. As someone who only had a superficial understanding of the stock market, even though Wang Yu had never participated in stock market investments. His own family's group was part of it. At the same time, he deeply felt the profits the stock market brought to individuals. With every shout, every rise, even a mere 100-point increase in the Hang Seng Index meant countless funds flowing into his pockets. Our reporter announces that the Hang Seng Index has officially broken through the 7,000 mark. As the red-eyed host made the declaration, Wang Yu fiercely lunged toward Shen Xun. So excited he almost passed out. Shen Xun pushed Wang Yu away. Looking at Wang Yu's hysterical, near-fainting state, he ordered the calm Shen Qian, keep recording the capital flow. I need to know exactly how much money he scooped up from the Hong Kong market, and from which groups he took it. Shen Xun nodded. Xun. Behind Shen Xun, Wang Yu grabbed his hand and cheered ecstatically. 7,000 points. Xun, do you know how much money we made? Over 100 million. No, not 100 million. Many hundreds of millions. Billions. According to Shen Xun's estimation, although at the last moment, he transferred a massive amount of funds to Qin Mining Group, which had a larger total capital pool. He already knew that Zhuzhou officials would choose to inject capital into mainland groups and would place this money in Qin Mining Group. As for the other blue chips, they were all bait. He simply didn't have enough capital to fight Soros head-on. So from the very beginning, he never intended to make Soros lose that much. It was just that the money in Qin Mining Group definitely wouldn't make much. Yet this was the very sum that yielded the highest profit. How much is Qin Mining Group per share right now? Shen Xun asked alertly. He casually checked. $120. We can wrap it up. Shen Xun's face wasn't like before. Instead, it looked a bit pale. Beside him, Wang Yu was confused as to why Shen Xun kept ignoring him. He quickly asked, Sister Qian, how much did we make this time? Shen Xun finally acknowledged him and answered, around 4 billion. 4 billion. Wang Yu's eyes widened, lightning flashing in his mind. As if he had gone mad. My dad couldn't make 4 billion in 10 lifetimes. Xun, we're rich. 4 billion. I couldn't spend it all in my entire life. Enough. With a low roar, Shen Xun violently twisted open a bottle of mineral water and splashed it all over Wang Yu's face. Xun, what's wrong with you? Wang, you got a nose full of water. Coughing and losing his voice, he calmed down and asked. At this moment, Shen Xun pulled out a notebook and started calculating something on it. Sister Qian, how much did Soros make this time? He's already dumped everything. Shen Qian sighed helplessly. A total of 23 billion. Hiss. Wang Yu gasped. That guy is too fierce. He actually scooped up 23 billion. How much principal must he have had? Thank goodness. Shen Xun breathed a sigh of relief. But his brow remained furrowed. Over 20 billion is nothing to Soros, but Hong Kong's manufacturing industry is probably destroyed. Saying this, Shen Xun checked the current status of Hong Kong's top 10 manufacturing groups. The result? All bankrupt. Wang Yu sharply gasped, thinking, Xun, what about my dad's real estate group? Did it go bankrupt? After Wang Yu spoke, Shen Xun controlled the digital computer with a gloomy face and nodded. It went bankrupt too. But I'll give you your family's share of the money. It'll be enough for you to open another 1 or 10. Holy shit, only then did Wang Yu gradually realize that not only the Wang family's enterprise, but Shen Qian's father's real estate company had also gone bankrupt in an instant, and those in real estate were actually the lucky ones. After all, it was the end of the industrial chain, so the ripple effect wasn't as massive. Those in the timber, construction, and processing industries, the upstream production groups, were the truly unlucky ones. My second uncle's shipyard went bankrupt too, and my cousin-in-law's clothing group. Xun, why are even the clothing sellers affected? Isn't it only related to real estate? Wang Yu operated the computer, checking as he spoke. The more he looked, the paler his face became. Wang Yu frantically checked every group in his memory, related to his relatives and friends. He arrived at a shocking conclusion. This isn't right. Wang Yu spread his hands in confusion. My ex-girlfriend's family went bankrupt too. Their company isn't even listed. This doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense? Shen Xun calmly stepped forward and turned off the digital computer. In Wang Yu's eyes, he exuded a faint aura of a superior and almost professional leadership presence, as if he knew the Hong Kong stock market like the back of his hand. I told you, everything in the Hong Kong stock market except blue chips is garbage. And this garbage isn't just represented in the form of listed companies. Do you remember the shell companies I had you set up? After Shen Xun spoke, Wang Yu's eyes suddenly lit up, and he was enlightened. Yes. In this era where everyone wanted to use speculation to earn excess profits, there were countless ways to package unlisted companies into listed garbage. Soros only made over 20 billion in profit, but behind that 20 billion could be hundreds of billions in lost wealth. They come from every corner of society, are closely tied to everyone. After this, Hong Kong's economy will suffer a heavy blow. Shen Xun's tone was somewhat heavy. He said very seriously, groups like your families that can come back from the dead can temporarily form a short-term monopoly. But this also means you have to shoulder more responsibility to help people in the industry get back on their feet, in a dark corner far away. Unlike the bewildered Wang Yu, Soros was currently surrounded by a group of operators, staring at the digital computer with red eyes. Fantastic. We made 20 billion this time. 20 billion. In just one day, we made billions of dollars, and with almost no risk. The operators popped champagne and whistled, more excited than if it were Christmas. However, listening to this noisy chatter, he slammed the table and cursed hysterically. Only 20 billion? I lost nearly 40 billion. Damn Juzhou people. Whoosh! The atmosphere in the office instantly turned freezing cold. The operators looked at each other, having no idea why he was so furious. They just quickly asked if they had found out who the traitor behind Qin Mining Group was. An operator, tremblingly, handed over a document. The traitor behind that group is named Wang Wu. He graduated from the Cambridge School of Economics, but has only handled portfolios in the tens of millions. Wang Wu? Soros quickly flipped open the document, glaring viciously at the photo on it, and gritted his teeth. Good, very good, a Juzhou pig. He felt humiliated, because he absolutely couldn't believe that an ordinary Juzhou student who graduated from the Cambridge School of Economics could make him lose so miserably. How many PhDs and academicians had come to him like pilgrims to seek the true meaning of the financial markets? The previous clash in the Hong Kong stock market had also fully proven that his opponent was one of the top minds in the world. Yet, he turned out to be just a student who had only traded tens of millions and had never even managed funds over 100 million. Contact the Federal Financial Department immediately and poach this guy, he ordered, filled with resentment and flying into a rage out of humiliation. I want to see what method he used to break my setup in the Hong Kong market. And that man named Wang Wu had no idea that a financial legend named Soros had already extended his demonic claws toward him, bringing upon him an unmitigated disaster he wouldn't forget even in his next life. A peaceful night, but an unpeaceful Changping village. Old Shen, what else do you want to drink? I'll have my assistant bring it over right away. Tonight, we won't go home until we're drunk. At the dilapidated village entrance, Father Shen and Father Wang were hosting a banquet, inviting hundreds of villagers to gather. As they held their wine glasses and shouted about not going home until drunk, they also wept bitterly like madmen. The villagers watched this scene and thought these two had some mental issues. But who could have known that in just the past 12 hours, the two of them had experienced massive ups and downs? Father Shen went without saying. He was about to jump off a building but was talked down from the rooftop by his son, and then witnessed his own economic theories clean up the junk stocks in the Hong Kong market, making the Shen family billionaires. Father Wang had initially gone bankrupt, but he knew his son had lent Shen Xun tens of millions. The money they would get a cut of this time would absolutely not be less than $1 billion. They had skyrocketed. Old Shen, I told you your son had a bright future, not like my son, who's just a piece of trash. The completely wasted Father Wang didn't seem worried at all that Shen Xun would abscond with the money, because even in their past life, after Father Shen passed away, Father Wang had unhesitatingly taken over and taken care of Shen Xun. He always believed that Shen Xun was no ordinary young man and would definitely achieve great things. Don't say that. My son also benefited from your Wang family's help, Father Shen said guiltily. No matter what, he had still put Shen Xun in grave danger. If his theory had been wrong this time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Never mind dying, just Yangdong alone could have made the Shen family regret ever being born. They might have even been turned into human shields. At this moment, he still felt a bit shaken. Just then, Mother Shen trotted over from a distance. Holding Father Wang's brick phone, she handed it to him with a mix of excitement and worry. Old Wang, your son is on the phone. Could you help me ask how son is doing right now? That little bastard. Hearing this, Father Wang's eyes lit up, and he immediately snatched the phone. However, just as he was about to thoroughly scold Wang Yu for drugging him with sleeping pills, Wang Yu's cries for help came through the phone. Dad, it's bad. Xun was taken by Yang Dong. What? Father Wang abruptly stood up in disbelief. Was all the money you made robbed by that animal Yang Dong? No. On the phone, Wang Yu sounded like he had just been through a fight, panting heavily. We made 4 billion. Dad, Xun gave me a bank card with 1.5 billion in it. He said it's a reward for our family, and he wants you to take 1 billion to invest in real estate in the mainland. But never mind that, Dad. Hurry up and find someone to save Xun. I'm afraid that animal Yang Dong is going to kill him. With that, Wang, you hung up the phone. Father Wang quickly cursed, smelly brat. When he came to his senses, he saw Father Shen and Mother Shen looking pale. They were already easily frightened, and the sound insulation of brick phones in this era wasn't that great. They had likely heard most of what Wang Yu said. Seeing the overly agitated Mother Shen tremblingly begging Father Wang to definitely help, she clutched her chest and collapsed to the ground with a thud. At the same time, Father Wang's brick phone rang again. Wife. Father Shen frantically hugged his wife. Father Wang also waved his hand and started cursing. Who the hell is it this time? He had just picked up the phone when a cold voice came from the other end. Hello, Boss Wang. I am Long Qi, team leader of the Juzhou Financial Monitoring Center. May I ask if you can contact Shen Xun, Financial Monitoring Center? Father Wang's face instantly turned pale. As a successful entrepreneur, it was impossible for Father Wang not to know the background of this organization. After all, it was 1998, not 1997. In the past, the so-called Financial Monitoring Center was actually an entity that regulated the Hong Kong stock market. Everyone knew that after 97, the Hong Kong market was regulated by Juzhou, and to avoid chaos in the Hong Kong market, Zhuzhou basically only manipulated dirty money and the illicit assets of criminals. They rarely made large-scale plans. Now, a national-level department had suddenly come looking for him. To say Father Wang wasn't nervous would be a lie. He swallowed nervously, steadied himself, and slowly spoke. "Hello, Team Leader Long. I also just received a call from my son, Shen Xun. He was taken away by Boss Yang of Yuan House Securities Group. Could you please help find him?" Beep, beep. Before Father Wang could finish his sentence, the other party hung up the phone. Amidst the lively banquet, only a deathly silence radiated from the faces of Father Wang. Father Shen. He quickly told his assistant to take Mother Shen to the hospital. Hong Kong, Kowloon City. In the darkness, Shen Xun was blindfolded. He heard a series of honking sounds around him. After the honking, the vehicle drove to a relatively quiet place. He was clutching a small hand in his. Shen Xun knew it belonged to his cousin, Shen Qian. At this moment, Shen Qian was also a bit nervous. She whispered, "Cousin?" A bodyguard beside them immediately barked, "Shut up, careful, or I'll fucking kill you." Shen Xun gasped. Just a few hours ago, right after he had given Wang Yu his share of the money, a group of people had barged into the hostel and abducted him. Originally, Shen Qian could have escaped. He didn't expect this silly girl to actually blurt out that she was Shen Sun's cousin in order to save him. Just like that, the two were taken away together. Not long ago, when the vehicle started, Shen Xun judged from the sounds that they must have traveled from the Liwan district, where the hostel was, to the sparsely populated wealthy area of Kowloon. So it was obvious the one who kidnapped him was Yang Dong. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the vehicle stopped in front of a luxurious villa. The bodyguards dragged Shen Xun and Shen Qian out of the car and herded them into the villa. When a bodyguard removed Shen Shun's blindfold, he found himself in a magnificent living room. Sitting on the sofa was Yang Dong, looking bitter and constantly wringing his hands. There was also a wealthy businessman in an expensive suit. The moment he saw this man, Shen Shun's heart skipped a beat. In his past life, he had often seen this guy on TV. He owned the largest villa complex in Hong Kong and was a pioneer in Hong Kong's real estate, named Huang Haitao. The other few were his lackeys, Director Huang, the richest man from Liwan district, and Director Hu, who did overseas trade from Wanchai Pier. Why so rough? Beside Yang Dong sat Professor Jiang Kang, who was staring at Shen Xun with a look of worship. Yang Dong stepped forward. "Shen Xun, come, sit, don't be afraid, we absolutely won't hurt you." Shen Xun glanced at Shen Qian and saw that she had paled after recognizing these three men. She and Shen Xun were all smart people. The moment he saw these three, he understood that the two figures in Yang Dong's account were definitely connected to these three bosses. To put it bluntly, these three were Yang Dong's partners. Kidnapping Shen Xun now was just about getting a cut of the money. The kid is quite handsome. Indeed, looks reflect the mind. Young and promising. As Shen Xun held Shen Qian's hand and sat down, the crafty Huang Haitao immediately stepped forward to cozy up to Shen Xun, reaching out his hand to ask, "And may I ask who this young lady is?" "My cousin," Shen Xun immediately spoke up. "Help us arrange our accommodation." "I see." Huang Haitao smiled politely. Surrounded by the others, Yang Dong couldn't hold back anymore. He walked over and squeezed in beside Shen Xun, patting his shoulder. "Not bad, little Shun. I knew the Wang family wouldn't recommend a loser to me. You're just like your dad, an outstanding trader. So, how much did you rake in this time?" Looking at Yang Dong's overly attentive expression, Shen Xun instantly realized that this guy was probing him. Since Huang Haitao managed to track him down, how could he not know how much money he made? They probably locked onto his location. The exact moment the 4 billion was wired into his account. 1 billion. But 1.5 billion of that is to pay back a friend, Shen Xun said honestly. At this moment, Director Huang, from Liwan district, cursed. The Wang family took all the benefits. "I tell you, kid, you're really not loyal. If we knew there was such a lucrative business, you should have come to us earlier. It's not like we're short on cash. Tossing you 10 or 20 million would have been a piece of cake." Shen Xun let out an awkward laugh. He knew the men sitting in front of him were all beasts in human clothing. They complained about losing out, but in reality, they wanted to make a fortune without spending a single dime. Many of the junk stocks in the Hong Kong stock market were created just to satisfy their speculative desires. They bore a huge responsibility for Soros siphoning 24 billion from the Hong Kong market this time. "I won't say much more," Yang Dong swallowed hard and said anxiously. "Little son, you took around 10 million from my private account. We have our rules. Forget about the Wang family's money. Give this money to us, and from now on, we'll take care of your work, your life, even finding you a wife. We'll handle everything for you. If you have any demands, just say the word. Everything is negotiable." As soon as Yang Dong finished, Shen Xun couldn't help but curse inwardly. This bastard Yang Dong really had a massive appetite. Out of the 4 billion, 1.5 billion went to Wang Yu, leaving 2.5 billion. So these guys wanted to pocket the entire 2.5 billion for themselves. In front of Huang Haitao, Shen Qian also sensed something was wrong and leaned closer to Shen Xun. Shen Xun, however, just smiled faintly, nodding as he pulled a bank card from his pocket and said generously, "Don't worry, Boss Yang. I've already prepared it. This 500 million is what you deserve. Without your capital, I couldn't have made this much money." As soon as Shen Xun said this, Huang Haitao, Director Huang, and Director Hall all turned pale. Yang Dong also looked awkward. Obviously, he didn't care how much Shen Xun gave him. After all, he had invested 200 million himself and had already made a killing. The problem was times, bang. The usually hot-tempered Director Hugh slammed his hand on the table and pointed at Shen Xun's nose. You brat. Are you trying to brush off beggars 500 million? Do you have any idea how much we lost because of your little stunt? 500 million isn't even enough to pick my teeth. Do you know how much our assets shrank because of your moves? Shen Qian shrank back beside Shen Xun at the yelling, looking at her cousin in panic, only to see him give her a reassuring smile. Shen Qian had long heard about what kind of people these men were. Put it this way, even if her father were here, he wouldn't even have the right to sit at the same table as these big shots. The power these three held was enough to influence the entire economy of Juzhou. Could Shen Xun really handle them? Amidst her worry, a warm, broad hand gently covered her delicate fingers. Shen Qian looked at the man beside her, wondering, is this really the cousin I used to know? So soft. Shen Xun secretly squeezed his cousin's small hand, enjoying the softness for a moment before saying seriously, if it weren't for us, you three might be bankrupt by now. Speaking of which, you should probably be thanking us. You brat, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? Director Hughes slammed the table again, knocking a wine glass to the floor. It shattered with a crisp, piercing sound. In an instant, the atmosphere in the room dropped to freezing point. I have no reason to lie to you. Shen Xun shrugged. If you don't believe me, you can ask Professor Zhang Kang here. You should trust his words, right? As soon as he spoke, all eyes in the room turned to Professor Zhang Kang. Boss Hu, don't be hasty. This young friend is absolutely right. Professor Zhang Kang rubbed his hands excitedly, his eyes practically sparkling. If this young friend hadn't intervened, all of Juzhou might have faced an even greater catastrophe. Young friend, if you don't mind my old age, I would like to take you as my master. The moment these words came out, everyone froze. Who was Professor Zhang Kang? A leading figure in Juzhou's financial world, an absolute authority in the eyes of countless people. Yet today, he wanted to become the disciple of a 20-something, wet behind the ears kid. How could this not make everyone's jaws drop? Cough, cough. Huang Haitao coughed dryly, his face a bit stiff. Professor Zhang Kang, we invited little brother Shen Xun here today to discuss business. As for taking him as your master, let's talk about that later, alright? Professor Zhang Kang seemed to realize he had lost his composure. He adjusted his expression and sat back down, but his gaze remained fixed on Shen Xun, making no effort to hide the burning passion in his eyes. Actually, we didn't invite you here this time, just to ask for money, Huang Haitao said, narrowing his eyes. 2.5 billion is a lot, but to us, it's not that important. Just say what's on your mind, Shen Xun replied, neither haughty nor humble. This old fox was calling me kid just a moment ago, and now he's switched to little brother. Haha, you're a straightforward person, little brother. Then I won't beat around the bush. Huang Haitao picked up the bulky brick phone on the table and called his secretary. Bring the stuff over. A moment later, a hot, glamorous secretary with long legs and black stockings and red high heels walked into the room, holding a stack of documents. She leaned over and placed the documents on the table in front of Shen Xun. As she bent down, Shen Xun caught a quick glimpse of the scenery. Black with lace. The secretary seemed to notice his gaze and winked flirtatiously at him. Just as Shen Xun was about to say thanks, a sharp pain shot through his right hand. He saw Shen Qian pouting beside him, looking thoroughly displeased. Shen Xun had no choice but to pick up the documents to cover his embarrassment. Little brother, do you see anything? Huang Haitao asked, narrowing his eyes with a half-smile. These are all worthless internet companies, Shen Xun frowned, already guessing what they were up to. Right now, they're indeed worthless. But what happens next is hard to say. Huang Haitao took a sip of red wine. Boss Huang wants to pump up the stock prices of these companies and sell them for a good price, Shen Xun said. Old Huang, old who, you see? Dealing with smart people is just so easy. Huang Haitao laughed heartily. Exactly, these companies are in our hands. After what you did to the stock market, it's facing a massive shakeup. Now is the perfect time to drive up the stock prices. Indeed, the stock market was currently volatile, and investors were anxious. If a few strong-performing stocks suddenly appeared, going against the trend, they would inevitably become the center of attention. At that point, no one could predict how high the stock prices of these companies would soar. This was the absolute best time for these guys to speculate. He had to admit, their senses were incredibly sharp. So, are you willing to join us? Huang Haitao smiled kindly. As long as you agree, I guarantee you a lifetime of wealth and glory. And I'll let bygones be bygones regarding that 2.5 billion. Shen Xun gave a slight nod but didn't answer. If these guys really pulled this off, what was 2.5 billion? By then, the entire economy of Juzhou would be in their hands. These guys were truly ruthless. Pumping up the market value and dumping it at the peak would make them a fortune, but it would leave the stock market in absolute ruins. However, if he refused their demand, he and Shen Qian probably wouldn't live to see tomorrow's sunrise. Fine, I agree to trade for you, but I need sufficient capital, and you must meet my conditions. After weighing his options, Shen Xun made his decision. Great, so straightforward. Then it's a deal. Huang Haitao was overjoyed. Come, little brother, let me toast you first. With that, Huang Haitao downed the red wine in his glass. At the same time, Director Huang, Director Hu, and Yang Dong also drained their glasses. Shen Qian looked at Shen Xun with concern, but he just gave her a reassuring look. Shen Xun also finished his wine. Huang Haitao clapped his hands, and dish after dish of exquisite delicacies was served to the table. The room, which had been tense just moments ago, was now filled with laughter and cheerful chatter. Later, Huang Haitao threw an arm over Shen Shun's shoulder and slurred drunkenly. Little brother Shen, how many days do you need to pump the stock prices of these companies to 10 billion? I heard your dad and the others are looking all over for you. His words were crystal clear. He wouldn't be allowed to leave until he met their demands. Shen Shun's mouth twitched. This old bastard actually dared to threaten him. Just, you wait. 3 days. I guarantee I'll deliver. Shen Xun patted his chest, pretending to be completely drunk as well. Good, truly a young hero. Ha ha ha. Huang Haitao was thrilled and called for the butler. Butler Liu, take this little brother and that girl to the prepared bedroom. Whatever he asks for, satisfy his demands. Yes, sir. Butler Liu bowed his head and asked Shen Xun, do you need me to find someone to carry this young lady back to the room? Shen Qian couldn't handle her liquor. After just 2 glasses of red wine, she had passed out right on the table. Never mind, I'll do it. Shen Qian wrapped his cousin's arm around his neck and pulled her against him. He hadn't expected her to be so light. Following Butler Liu into the room, he took a casual look around. The room was huge, luxuriously decorated, and fully furnished. It even had a laundry room. It was basically a luxury suite. After Butler Liu withdrew, Shen Xun laid Shen Qian down on the wide, soft bed. The red wine had a strong kick, and Shen Qian's normally fair neck was flushed red. Her clothes were slightly disheveled, and her perky curves made it hard for Shen Xun to look away. He swallowed hard. He wasn't a saint, after all. With such a stunning beauty passed out on the bed, it was impossible not to be tempted. However, taking advantage of someone in this state was something he just couldn't do. Not to mention, this was his cousin. Suppressing his surging hormones, Shen Xun helped her take off her shoes and jacket, then tucked her in. He checked the time. It was around 10 p.m. The moon outside the window was full. He couldn't help but reflect on everything he had done since his rebirth. He wondered how his parents were doing, if they were losing sleep over him. Sighing, Shen Xun decided to go to bed early today. He still had to deal with those 3 old foxes tomorrow. After taking a shower, Shen Xun suddenly remembered that he and Shen Qian hadn't brought any change of clothes. He had no choice but to wrap a towel around his waist and step out of the bathroom, planning to call Butler Liu. As soon as he stepped out, 2 pairs of eyes met. In his shock, Shen Xun didn't even realize that his towel had dropped to the floor. Shen Qian immediately covered her eyes and screamed, though she left a tiny gap between her fingers to peek. Shen Xun finally snapped back to reality, hastily grabbing the towel from the floor to cover his vitals. You're awake. A million alpacas were stampeding through Shen Xun's mind. How could something so ridiculous happen? Yeah, I felt really thirsty, so I got up to find some water. Are you still dizzy? Shen Xun asked with concern. I slept for a bit, so it's not as bad now. That's good. Miss Shen, did something happen in there? Shen Xun sneered inwardly. These 3 old bastards actually sent someone to keep an eye on them. It's nothing. Could you trouble yourself to find us a suitable set of men's clothes and a set of women's clothes? Brand new ones, Shen Xun said. Through the door. Understood. Is there anything else you need? Not for now. Shen Xun made a shush gesture to Shen Qian, signaling that the walls had ears and she shouldn't make a sound. Then, Shen Xun went into the bathroom, flicking the light switch on and off a few times. Frowning, he filled a cup with water and splashed it directly onto the bathroom light. Doused in water, the light bulb overhead flickered twice and died. Shen Qian was about to ask what he was doing, but he stopped her again. Shen Xun crouched down and reached under the sink. In just a moment, a small, black, square-shaped microbug with a blinking red light appeared in his hand. Shen Qian watched, dumbfounded. Next, Shen Xun walked over to the bedroom. From behind the TV, inside the desk lamp, in the drawer, and under the chair, he pulled out a total of 4 more listening devices. These blood-sucking old geezers really are watching my every move. After turning off all the devices one by one, Shen Qian finally spoke, still shaken. Shen Xun, how did you know there were bugs hidden in those places? Shen Qian was now completely in awe of Shen Xun. From his boldness in risking everything to win big, to his unyielding composure in front of the 3 big bosses, every single aspect of him left her utterly fascinated. And now, finding this pile of bugs like a seasoned detective made her cousin even more of an enigma to her. Learned it from TV. Didn't expect them to actually be there. Shen Xun casually made up an excuse. He couldn't exactly tell her that in his past life, because he took a huge slice of the pie in the US stock market, he had been constantly monitored by the CIA, could he? Shen Xun, I feel like I can't read you at all anymore. Don't worry, Sister Qian, I'm still me. Something's happened, and I had to change. I'm a little worried about you, Shen Qian shook her head. These people are ruthless. I'm afraid they'll destroy you. Shen Xun's heart skipped a beat, and he zoned out for a moment. How long had it been? How long had it been since someone cared about him? In his past life, although he reached the top of the pyramid, there was no one by his side who truly cared for him. Many people treated him well only because they were after his money. But in this life, his parents were alive, his brothers were with him, and his cousin cared about him so much, it made him feel a bit overwhelmed. I know, but don't worry, they wouldn't dare do anything to me right now, Shen Xun said. I just feel a bit guilty. This was my mess, and I shouldn't have dragged a girl like you into it. So what? You're my little brother. If someone bullies you, how could I just stand by and watch? Remember when you were chased by a dog as a kid? I grabbed a rock and chased that dog away, didn't I? Shen Qian raised her small fist and said indignantly, it's the same now. Whoever bullies you, I'll beat them up. Shen Xun couldn't help but laugh. He hadn't expected her to remember something from so long ago. Shen Xun reached out and stroked her hair. Men's problems should be solved by men. I'll find a way to get you out of here safely. But I'm the older sister here, Shen Qian protested, a bit defiant. Be a good girl and listen to me. Shen Xun patted her head domineeringly. You're still a woman. It's only natural for a man to protect a woman. For some reason, Shen Qian didn't talk back or show any displeasure. She just let his hand stroke her head, as docile as a little kitten. An ambiguous atmosphere instantly filled the room. Mr. Shen, the 2 sets of clothes you requested are ready. I've left them outside the door. Butler, Lu's voice broke the tension. Shen Qian shyly brushed her hair down to hide her slightly flushed cheeks. Butler Lu had prepared 3 sets of clean, new clothes for them, with the tags still attached. Shen Xun clicked his tongue. Good lord, these are all high-end brands. Just the jackets alone cost over 1,000 each, but he wasn't going to give up his plan to deal with the 3 big bosses just for a few perks. Shen Qian had no concept of clothing brands. After taking them, she just checked if they fit. I'll go take a shower first. Ever since she was kidnapped by Shen Xun, she hadn't showered. For someone as clean as her, it was unbearable. But a man and a woman alone in the same room, and the bathroom was right next to the bed and semi-transparent at that. It was enough to let one's imagination run wild. After her shower, Shen Qian changed into the new clothes Butler Lu had prepared, a light green pleated dress. Already pure and beautiful, Shen Qian looked even more fresh and sweet in it. For a moment, Shen Xun was completely mesmerized. How did I never notice how beautiful she is before? Does the outfit look weird? Shen Qian asked shyly. Do I look like a kid in it? I think it suits you perfectly. You look beautiful, Shen Xun said sincerely. Humph, glad you have good taste, Shen Qian hummed softly, unable to hide the smile on her face. She sat down next to Shen Xun, twirling her half-dry hair around her finger. Do you think we really have a way out of here? Of course we do, Shen Xun said confidently. Even if I can't leave, I'll find a way to get you out. Hearing this, Shen Qian grew anxious. No way. If you can't leave, I'll stay here with you. Realizing her words sounded a bit too eager, she quickly added, I'm your older sister. If I leave you behind, how am I supposed to explain it to your parents? Shen Xun chuckled, a warm feeling flowing through his heart. I have a plan, but it's very dangerous. I might need your help, Sister Qian. Don't talk about helping or not. We're in the same boat now. Your business is my business. Shen Xun stayed silent for a moment before saying seriously, we at least need to find a way to contact the outside world. How do we do that? I noticed. This villa is probably registered under one of their names. None of the places we've been in have security cameras installed. That tells us one thing. It means someone used to live in this villa. Shen Qian nodded. Shen Xun was slightly taken aback. He hadn't expected Shen Qian to be so smart, catching on immediately. Exactly. Since someone lived here, there's a high chance they left behind a pager or a computer. You want to find those and call the police? Shen Qian covered her mouth and whispered, but we don't even know where we are. And the police might be bought off too. Right? Shen Xun had already guessed what she was thinking. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. So you're saying I'm stupid? Shen Qian pouted. No, absolutely not. Shen Xun laughed dryly. Calling the police is out of the question, but I have other uses for it. But didn't you say they're constantly watching us? There must be guards outside, right? The number of guards watching us probably won't exceed 5. Shen Xun held up 3 fingers. Why do you say that? Shen Qian asked, confused. 3 reasons. First, looking out, this house is surrounded by woods, which means we're definitely in the suburbs. Since the villa is in the suburbs, they definitely don't want to be disturbed. Moreover, they don't need many people to guard 2 defenseless people like us. Shen Qian nodded instinctively. Second, since they brought us straight here after grabbing us, it's highly likely this villa is the place they use for their illegal activities. If that's true, the fewer people who know about this place, the better. Makes sense, Shen Qian asked. And the last reason? Take a look at this. Shen Xun pulled out a crumpled little piece of paper from nowhere and handed it to Shen Qian. 3 a.m. Find a way to the study. I've left what you need there. There are no more than 5 guards watching you, and no more than 3 inside the house. I don't know their exact positions. Be careful. Seeing this note left Shen Qian completely baffled. Who gave this to you? Yang Dong slipped it to me secretly. So you knew all along. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Shen Qian felt like she had been played for a fool. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd worry, Shen Xun said sheepishly, taking the note back, tearing it up, and flushing it down the toilet. Can we trust Boss Yang? Shen Qian asked worriedly. What if we're just jumping from the wolf's den into the tiger's mouth? Since he dared to slip me this note behind the three bosses' backs, he should be trustworthy. But he's the one who dragged you into this mess in the first place. If he still wants to make more money, he won't lie to me. Shen Xun suddenly realized something. No wonder you messaged him back then, telling him to invest all his money. You were holding this card all along. He's not stupid. He knows that if I work for the three bosses, he won't get a single dime, Shen Xun said. But if he helps me, I'll owe him a favor. There will definitely be plenty of benefits for him in the future. Every investment I make must yield a return. That's what makes a qualified trader. Shen Xun was stunned. She hadn't expected her cousin to be so calculating. He looked like a 20-something, but his mind was on par with those old monsters. The things he said, the things he did. How was any of this something a guy in his early 20s could pull off? But even if Boss Yang is really helping us, what about the guards? Don't worry, I have my ways. Shen Xun smiled mysteriously. So, we have two goals tonight. First, find a communication device. Second, find whatever Yang Dong left for us. What did he leave us? I don't know. If it's a pager, that'd be perfect. Shen Xun shrugged. It's getting late. Get some rest first. I'll wake you up later. Shen Xun stood up, but Shen Xian grabbed him. Where are you going? Shen Xun froze. I'm going to sleep on the couch. Just sleep on the bed. It's big enough. But what? We used to sleep together all the time when we were kids. Did you forget? Without giving him a chance to argue, Shen Xian forcefully pulled Shen Xun back onto the bed, showing a rare bossy side. You're sleeping here tonight. You'll catch a cold on the couch. You're a grown man. Why are you acting more bashful than a girl? Shen Xian, seemingly annoyed, pulled the blanket over her head, burying her face in it, and threw out one last harsh remark. Sleep here or don't, whatever. Shen Xun was completely thrown off. Since she had already put it that way, continuing to refuse would just be unreasonable. Taking off his outer clothes, Shen Xun carefully slipped under the covers. Lying on the large, soft bed seemed to wash away all the exhaustion he had accumulated recently. Before he knew it, Shen Xun actually drifted off to sleep. What he didn't know was that less than half a meter away, Shen Xian's face was burning red. How could she possibly sleep? After Shen Xun got into bed, a long time passed without a single sound from him. Curious, Shen Xian was just about to speak when she heard a soft snore coming from beside her. Her cheeks flushed bright red. She wanted nothing more than to punch this guy. Idiot! Idiot! You massive idiot! Shen Xun, wake up. In his sleep, Shen Xun vaguely heard a sweet voice calling out to him. Sister Qian. Shen Xun rubbed his groggy eyes, looking like he hadn't slept enough. What time is it? Shen Xun felt like he had just closed his eyes a second ago. He didn't feel rested at all. The room was pitch black, and the woods outside the window were eerily quiet. It was the time when all living things were resting. 10 minutes to 3 a.m., Shen Qian said helplessly. We should still have time, right? Shen Xun slapped the back of his head hard. Only then did he realize he had almost ruined everything. Sorry, Sister Qian, I almost overslept. You've just been too tired lately. Shen Qian shook her head. Once all this is over, you really need to get some proper rest. Honestly, he couldn't be blamed for being lazy. After everything that had happened, Shen Xun's mind had been in a constant state of high tension. Finally, getting a few hours of sleep was nowhere near enough to fully recover. I need to find what I'm looking for quickly, then get a good night's sleep. After a quick preparation, the two stood by the door, looking at each other. Ready to go? Shen Xun nodded firmly. Let's go. Stay behind me. If we're discovered by the three bosses, you run immediately. I'll hold them off. Shen Qian was about to argue, but Shen Xun seemed to know what she was going to say and cut her off. Now is not the time to argue. Just listen to me, okay? Helpless, Shen Qian nodded. Okay, move out. Shen Xun quietly opened the door, leaving a small crack. The hallway lights were off, making it very dark, and there were no sounds of footsteps. Only then did Shen Xun relax a little. He boldly opened the door and stepped out of the room. Fortunately, no one was guarding their door. The three bosses probably didn't want to make him suspicious. They were on the second floor. Based on Shen Xun's earlier observations, the study was right next to the dining room on the first floor. This villa was at least 500 square meters. It was massive. Therefore, they had to be extremely careful. If they failed, the three bosses would likely turn hostile immediately or do something even more extreme. Sitting around waiting to die wasn't Shen Xun's style. Since there was a chance, he had to seize it. Slow down. The light ahead is on. Looks like someone's there? Shen Xun whispered. The corner ahead led to the stairs going down. If they wanted to reach the first floor, they had to pass through here. Looking closely, they saw a tall, burly musclehead in black, smoking alone by the windowsill. What do? We definitely can't take him in a fight. Who said anything about fighting him? Shen Xun said. Sister Qian, this is where you come in. What should I do? I just threw some stuff in the toilet to clog it. Ask him to help us unclog it to buy me some time. I'll definitely be back before he finishes. That's too risky. Trust me. Shen Qian nodded. Going all in, Shen Qian swaggered out. Sure enough, hearing the noise, the big guy immediately noticed her. Excuse me, big brother. Could I trouble you with something? Shen Qian asked shyly. The toilet in our room seems to be clogged. Could you please come take a look? It's so late. I really didn't know what else to do. Sure thing, miss. I'll go get the tools. Hiding on the side, Shen Xun thought to himself, this guy looked tough to deal with, but he's actually a huge simp. The big guy completely fell for Shen Qian's words and hurried off to find the tools. Stall him as long as possible, buy me some time. Taking advantage of the big guy leaving to get tools, Shen Xun tiptoed downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs was the brightly lit living room. A man dressed exactly like the big guy from earlier was sitting on the sofa, head down, seemingly reading something. Pricking up his ears, he could even hear the man muttering to himself. The guard was sitting with his back to Shen Xun. Knowing he couldn't delay, Shen Xun gathered his courage and continued down. Stepping off the last stair, Shen Xun finally heard clearly what the man was saying. Prime Minister, if you die, what will happen to the kingdom of Shu? Prime Minister, please don't die. Woohoo. The man was actually sobbing quietly, holding a novel in his hands. Good lord. This guy is pulling an all-nighter reading Romance of the Three Kingdoms and getting way too into it. But this made it easier for Shen Xun to move forward. Relying on his memory, Shen Xun navigated through the dark and miraculously reached the study door without any obstruction. Shen Xun couldn't even believe his own luck. He carefully slipped into the study. The room was pitch black, and he didn't dare turn on the light. In such a huge study, how was he supposed to find what Yang Dong left for him? Just as Shen Xun was thinking, an unfamiliar voice suddenly spoke from behind him, scaring him so much that goosebumps erupted all over his body and cold sweat poured down. Are you looking for this? Damn it. The worst-case scenario. I've been caught red-handed. Shen Xun clenched his fists, his brain working in overdrive. To figure out a way out. You must be Shen Xun, right? The unfamiliar voice sounded from behind again. This is what Yang Dong left for you. Seeing Shen Xun stay silent, the person behind him continued. Today, after dinner, I saw him sneak into the study and come out over 10 minutes later. I guessed he must have done something in there. Sure enough, I found what he left for you. So, I've been waiting here for you. What do you want? Shen Xun turned around, but because the room was too dark, he couldn't make out the person's face at all. I haven't told anyone about this, the man said. I can sell this to you. I really need money. Shen Xun was taken aback and asked skeptically, how much do you want? How much can you offer? The man countered. It's a pager and a document. I haven't touched any of it. Shen Xun still felt this whole thing was fishy. You name a price. As long as you give me the stuff and don't expose me, I can pay whatever you want. The man held up his hand. By the faint moonlight, Shen Xun saw him make a gesture. 500 million. Shen Xun gasped. Did this guy overhear my conversation with the three bosses? Is that why he's blackmailing me? His appetite is way too big. Isn't he afraid of choking on it? Seeing Shen Xun stay silent for so long, the man seemed unable to hold back anymore. He lowered 2 fingers, his tone turning nervous. 50,000. If not, is 30,000 okay? Say that again? How much? Shen Xun wondered if he had misheard. 3. Never mind. Is 10,000 okay? Shen Xun was completely dumbfounded by the guy in front of him. Although 10,000 yuan was still quite a bit of money in this era, to the current Shen Xun, it was just a drop in the bucket. 8,000 is fine too. 10,000 it is. I don't want to waste time, Shen Xun said, but I can't give it to you right now. My accounts are being monitored by them. When can you give it to me? I need the money urgently. Shen Xun felt the man's attitude soften. How about this? You give me the pager first and give me an account number. Tomorrow, I'll have my brother transfer it to you. How's that? He didn't know how Shen Qian was doing on her end. He had no time to waste and needed to get back quickly. How can I trust you? If you don't get the money by 10 a.m. tomorrow, you can just tell your boss about me. You should know better than me what your boss would do. 10 a.m., that's a bit late. The man fell silent for a long time, seemingly conflicted. Shen Xun didn't have time to wait for him to hesitate and urged, I promise I won't lie to you. This makes it very difficult for me. The man was still hesitating. What's so difficult about it? You've dragged this out for so long. I should charge you extra. Wait, why does this sound so familiar? How much extra are you asking for? 5,000. The man's tone softened again. Fine, I'll add 10,000. Shen Xun practically begged him to stop dawdling. Miss, the toilet is unclogged. The burly man in black held a plunger in one hand and wiped the sweat from his forehead with the other. I won't bother you any longer then. Wait, don't go yet. Shen Qian hadn't expected this guy to be so fast. He had unclogged the toilet in less than 5 minutes. Miss, is there anything else you need? The big guy asked, confused. Could you help me check the AC? Shen Qian wasn't very good at lying. I feel like there's a weird smell coming from it. Maybe it's moldy from not being used for so long? This room hasn't been used in a while. The big guy nodded. All right, I'll take a look for you. Shen Qian thought to herself, thank goodness, this guy is simple-minded and doesn't have any bad intentions. She relaxed a little, but the big guy's next sentence scared her into a cold sweat. By the way, miss, I don't seem to see the gentleman staying with you. He was too tired. He's sleeping like a log over there. Just ignore him. Shen Qian pointed to the large bed 10 meters away. See? Even with us talking like this, he won't wake up. The big guy glanced over. Perhaps because the lighting was too dim, he didn't look closely. Then, I'll try to keep the noise down. Shen Qian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she had stuffed some things under the blanket earlier. From a distance, it really did look like someone was sleeping there. But it was also thanks to this guy being so gullible. If it were someone smarter, she would have been exposed for sure. Although this guy was a bit slow, he was surprisingly efficient. In less than 3 minutes, he had taken out the AC filter, washed it clean, and put it back. His movements were so smooth and seamless that Shen Qian was left dumbfounded. Bro, could you slow down a bit? Miss, it should be fine now. The big guy closed the AC cover tightly. After confirming everything was in order, he said to Shen Qian, if there's nothing else, I'll just... Before he could finish, Shen Qian interrupted him. Look at how much you're sweating. If you catch a draft, you'll get a terrible cold. Why don't you take a shower before you go? The big guy froze, rubbing his buzz cut. I appreciate your kindness, miss, but I still have to go back and keep watch to protect you too. Oh big brother, don't be shy. It's so late, and I've troubled you so much. I really feel bad about it. Shen Qian, forced a smile. Just take a hot shower and relax a bit. I really don't need to, miss. I still have a mission to complete. I can't abandon my post. The boss will find me. Isn't your mission to watch over and protect us? As long as we stay right here and don't cause you any trouble, it's fine, right? Shen Qian's lying skills seem to have improved. Besides, your boss is already asleep, and there are no cameras here. Who's going to know if you're working hard or not? Shen Qian blinked her charming eyes. Right, big brother? Miss, I appreciate your good intentions, but since I take people's money to do a job, I absolutely cannot let my employer down. The big guy spoke righteously, patting his chest with impassioned pride. Shen Qian was speechless. Is this guy completely immune to everything? If it were any normal guy being coaxed like this by a top-tier beauty like Shen Qian, they would have surrendered long ago. But this guy was completely unfazed. It was absolutely ridiculous. All right, miss. It's late. Get some rest. I won't bother you any longer. With that, the big guy turned to open the door and leave. Shen Qian was so anxious, her back was drenched in sweat. If she let him go back now, Shen Xun wouldn't be able to return. Shen Qian stubbornly clenched her fists. No matter what, I have to make this guy stay today. Shen Qian hurriedly grabbed the big guy's sleeve, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. Big brother, you must be thirsty, right? Why don't you have some water before you go? No need, miss. I'm not thirsty right now. Then do you want something to eat? I already had a midnight snack. Do you need to use the bathroom first? Shen Qian was so desperate she didn't even know what she was saying anymore. Miss, are you hiding something from me? The big guy seemed to realize something, his gaze shifting to the large bed in the distance. Shen Qian's heart sank. Oh no. I can't hide it anymore. And no, what could I possibly be hiding from you? Why is it that with all the noise we're making, that gentleman doesn't seem to hear a thing? Crap, he noticed. Really? At this point, Shen Qian could only play dumb. He just rolled over a minute ago, didn't he? I need to go confirm right now. Please, step aside. The big guy's tone turned serious. It's so late. Let's not bother him, okay? Shen Qian's forehead was covered in cold sweat, her heart rate spiking over 120. What if he wakes up angry and complains to your boss? You'll get your pay docked, right? I will repeat this one last time. Please step aside. The big guy was the absolute epitome of stubbornness. No matter how Shen Qian tried to persuade him, he wouldn't listen. Since he had made it this clear, if she didn't step aside, he would probably use force. Left with no choice, Shen Qian slowly backed away, watching him cross her line of defense. In the blink of an eye, the big guy was at the bedside, grabbing a corner of the blanket, about to pull it back to see what was underneath. Shen Xun times. The girl closed her eyes in despair, leaning weakly against the wall. At this moment, her heart was filled with self-blame. She had failed his expectations. She could already foresee what the three bosses would do to them. It was all over. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Hearing this familiar voice, the ashen-faced Shen Qian suddenly lit up with color. What the fuck are you pulling my blanket for? Are you sick in the head? Shen Xun cursed, pointing at the big guy while rubbing his eyes. Do you have any idea what time it is? If you don't want to sleep, fine. But why the hell are you yanking my blanket? Shen Xun's tone carried an ominous fury. If Shen Qian hadn't known the truth, even she would have been fooled by this guy. Now this is what you call acting. Sir, I am truly sorry. I just wanted to confirm if you were here. Confirm what? It's the middle of the night. If I'm not sleeping here, where else would I be? Sneaking down to the first floor to play around. I was sleeping perfectly fine, and you pulling this stunt made me think I was getting assassinated. I am incredibly sorry. Please forgive my intrusion. Believe it or not, I'll tell your boss tomorrow and have you fired on the spot. Hearing this threat, the big guy panicked. No, sir. Please don't tell my boss. I don't want to lose this job. Please be the bigger person and forgive me this once. The big guy bowed repeatedly, apologizing profusely, his attitude extremely sincere. Seeing him like this, even Shen Xun felt bad about saying anything harsher. Shen Xun put on an impatient expression. All right. I can't be bothered to argue with you. Go do whatever you need to do. Just stop interrupting my sleep. Thank you, sir. I'll get out of your hair right now. With that, the big guy rushed out of the room at top speed, carefully closing the door behind him, terrified of disturbing Shen Xun's rest. After he left, Shen Qian felt as if all the strength had been drained from her body. She slumped to the floor, her voice trembling with a hint of a sob. When did you get back? You scared me to death. Woohoo! Shen Xun was startled by her reaction and quickly jumped out of bed, wrapping his arms around her waist and comforting her softly. I'm sorry, I was late. I made you worry. I climbed in through the window of the first floor study. I saw you two talking, so I didn't alert you. Shen Xun gently stroked her head and whispered, thanks to you buying me time. Shen Qian was shocked. She carefully inspected Shen Xun and asked anxiously, you climbed the window? It's so high up. What if you fell? I'm perfectly fine, aren't I? Shen Xun smiled. Are you worried about me? Isn't it normal for an older sister to worry about her little brother? Shen, Qian retorted stubbornly, though she was blushing. Shen Xun curled his lip, not wanting to dwell on the topic. Did you get the stuff? What is it? Something that's enough to let us escape their clutches. The corners of Shen Xun's mouth curled up slightly. The next morning, Mr. Shen, Miss Shen, are you awake? Butler Lu arrived punctually at their door to ask. From inside, Shen Xun's voice rang out. It's so early. Can't we sleep in a bit? The chairman invites you both to the dining hall for breakfast. The door opened, revealing Shen Xun and Shen Qian already fully dressed. We've been ready for breakfast for a while now. I'm starving, they told Butler Lu. Following Butler Lu to the dining room, the three bosses were already seated and eating. Seeing Shen Xun walk in, Huang Haitao greeted him warmly. Morning, little Shen. Did you sleep well here last night? Thanks to you, the bed was very comfortable. But I still prefer my own bed. Shen Xun yawned and took a seat with Shen Qian. Don't be in such a rush, little Shen. You'll be going back in just a few days. Haste makes waste. You know, Director Huang chimed in. If you really can't get used to sleeping here, I can just send someone to your house to bring your bed over. Haha. The hot-tempered Director Hu burst into laughter. Shen Xun's mouth twitched, but he didn't lash out, only giving a couple of awkward laughs. Little Shen, I've already sent people to set up the equipment. Today is the first battle. Are you confident? Huang Haitao stuffed a piece of sandwich into his mouth. All our money is riding on you. Shen Xun understood this was a warning not to try any tricks. Don't worry, I definitely won't let you down. Actually, even putting aside the fact that he was being threatened, pumping up worthless stocks was a piece of cake for Shen Xun. In his past life, Shen Xun couldn't even remember how many companies had hired him as their trader. Almost without exception, he perfectly met his clients' demands. But this time was different. By the time they finished breakfast, it was already 9 a.m. There was half an hour left until the stock market opened. The equipment had been set up. Shen Xun logged into the accounts. While waiting, Shen Xun sat idly in his chair, fiddling with his hands. The three bosses sat right behind him, staring at him intently. There were a total of 7 companies. Currently, their average market value didn't exceed 300 million. Today, the 3 big bosses prepared several trading accounts for Shen Xun, handing them all over to him to operate. Shen Qian was in charge of managing the funds. Even though she had seen a lot in the market, seeing this much money still made her a bit nervous. But to Shen Xun, 100 million was absolutely nothing. If you really calculated the funds that had passed through his hands, it would probably be an astronomical figure. At exactly 9:30 a.m., the stock market opened. Shen Xun's originally lazy eyes suddenly lit up. Buy 30 million of D company in 3 batches. Buy 10 million of D company in 5 batches. Someone noticed one of our stocks. Enter slowly, don't rush. Holy crap, this kid really has some skills. Director Gu's eyes almost popped out as he watched the continuously climbing stock prices. More than just some skills, he's an absolute monster, Director Huang said, narrowing his eyes. Operating 7 stocks at the same time and keeping everything perfectly organized. If that's not a monster, what is? Old Huang, if he really achieves our goal within 3 days, are we really going to let him go? Director Hu asked. If he's willing to work for us long-term, letting him go wouldn't be impossible. Huang Haitao's eyes remained fixed on the big screen ahead. And what if he isn't willing? He doesn't have a choice, Huang Haitao said expressionlessly. In Juzhou, would anyone else dare to take someone we want? Ha ha ha. True, why didn't I think of that? You're the man. Old Huang, but we did kidnap him after all. He definitely holds a grudge against us. We need to figure out a way to make him stay. Director Huang lit a cigar for himself. That's easy. 100 million. Are you in? No? 200 million. 300 million, Director Hu said nonchalantly. I'll crush him with money. Do you think someone with his abilities would be short on cash? Director Huang rolled his eyes. Then what do you suggest? Huang Haitao still stared, expressionlessly at the big screen. If he can't be used by us, then naturally, he can only be destroyed. Meanwhile, in a stock forum, a group of investors were heatedly discussing today's stock losses. Netizen A. Brothers, the market is looking grim. It's a sea of green again today. I can't hold on much longer. Netizen B. Damn it, I've already lost 40 points in the last 2 days. If this keeps up, my whole year of work will be for nothing. Netizen C. Brothers, I lost a Mercedes. Can anyone help me? Netizen A. Where did you lose it? Netizen B. You lost your car and you still have time to post here. Hurry up and call the cops. Netizen C. The cops can't help. Netizen B. What do you mean? Netizen C. I lost it in the Hong Kong stock market. He attached a screenshot of his returns, which glaringly showed a loss of 400,000. As soon as this picture was posted, the comments below were flooded with F. Netizen A. Can someone recommend a reliable stock? Netizen B. Keep dreaming. Asia is in a financial crisis right now. Where are you going to find a reliable stock? Netizen D. Brothers, I think I found a pretty good stock. It's actually not dropping with the broader market. Netizen C. An internet. This company? It's probably a trap. It peaks in the morning and they harvest you all in the afternoon. Only an idiot would touch it. Netizen D. But this growth trend looks a bit insane. It's only been open for a short while, and it's already up 3 points. Netizen D. I'm going all in first. You guys can keep watching. Netizen D attached a screenshot clearly showing a purchase of 1 million yuan. As soon as this picture came out, the comments below were flooded with worshipping the boss. Netizen, boss is awesome. I'm following the boss. Netizen B, fine, even if it's a trap, it's a profitable trap. I'm adding to my position too, charge. For a time, the entire forum was discussing this stock. Some people thought this company had caught a lucky break, while others believed that rising against the market trend was just a mirage, and the overall trend would eventually prevail. Inside a certain villa, Boss Huang, our companies have all turned from green to red today, especially Changsheng Internet Company. The price per share has already exceeded 35 cents. The trading volume up to 10 a.m. has already broken through. The secretary in black pantyhose excitedly reported this astonishing battle report beside Huang Haitao. Changsheng's current growth has already broken through 10 points. It's estimated to reach 20 points before the morning market closes. The rest of the companies have at least a 3% increase. Such a report made even the three big bosses gasp in shock. This kid can no longer be described as a talent. He's simply a genius. No, a monster. Director Goose stared at the big screen, not even daring to breathe heavily. The Hong Kong stock market has no daily limit. I really want to know how far this kid can go today. It's just that the initial cash investment is a bit large. Director Huang sighed. The 100 million we prepared wasn't even enough for him to use for an hour. Old Huang, can you have a little ambition? Director Hu patted his shoulder. I did a rough calculation. Excluding the 300 million we've already invested to drive up the stock price. Based on the current price, we have still made a net profit of 1 billion. As long as we dump the stocks in our hands when the time comes, are you afraid we won't make our money back? Good work, Qian. The market has stabilized now. You can rest for a bit. Shen Xun handed a bottle of water to Shen Qian, who was sitting to the side. Thanks. Shen Qian took the water, her hands still trembling slightly. She simply couldn't believe that in just one morning, the stock prices of these companies had risen so much in their hands. Set your sights further. This is only the beginning, Shen Xun said nonchalantly. The real show is yet to come. But is this really okay? Shen Qian was a little worried. I'm afraid things will get out of hand next. Heh, don't worry. It's all part of the plan. As the morning market was about to close, the stock forum exploded. Normally, a post with over 100 views was considered very high, but today, a single post actually had over 10,000 views. Netizen, buying Changsheng, made back everything I lost recently. Brothers, Netizen B, holy shit, I thought I was going to starve this year. Thank God I caught the Changsheng train. Changsheng is invincible. Netizen, I unilaterally declare that Changsheng is my daddy. Netizen B rich. Netizen D brothers, I'm in a great mood today. I'm sending a red envelope to everyone to celebrate. He then sent a 1,000 yuan red envelope, which was snatched up in just 1 minute. Netizen, boss is so generous. Netizen B, the boss made enough to buy a Mercedes this morning, right? Immediately after, Netizen D sent another screenshot showing his earnings for the day. Today's earnings, 369,753.63 yuan. Netizen C, boss, is it still too late for me to get on board? I admit I was a little too loud just now. Netizen D, just go all in and you're good. He then sent another picture showing a purchase of 1 million yuan. The purchase time was exactly 1 minute before the market closed. With Netizen D's additional investment, the entire forum became even more uncontrollable. In just one morning, the forum netizens' attitude towards Changsheng Company shifted completely to buying it means earning. For a time, Changsheng Company's prestige gradually spread in the stock circle. The lunch break ended, and the time came to 1 p.m. Changsheng Company's trend line was like a straight golden cudgel pointing straight to the sky. Countless people were thrilled by it, and everyone even had the illusion that a bull market was coming. But in reality, the broader market was still green. It was just that the performance of Changsheng and these few companies was truly a bit outrageous. Boss Huang, Mr. Shen, said we need to add more. The secretary came to Huang Haitao's side, her voice trembling slightly. Just add it. You don't need to tell me about such trivial matters. Huang Haitao narrowed his eyes, watching the stocks in front of him. Old Huang, we've already added 500 million. Director Huang frowned. If this continues, our cash flow probably won't last much longer. Sigh, Old Huang, this is why you're called Old Huang and he's called Brother Huang. Director Hu laughed heartily. So what if the cash burns out? Just sell some of the stocks on hand and cash out, right? Then how about we sell some now? Old Huang, are you out of your mind? The momentum is great right now. Selling now is equivalent to losing money. Director Hu looked at him with disdain. Look at you, so spineless. You're scared like this after only spending a few hundred million? I'm just really worried it'll drop. Worried about what? Director Hu said dismissively. If the stock price drops, I'll eat this screen right here and now. The investor forum's traffic today was several times higher than usual. One post's views even broke through 30,000. A spectacular sight almost impossible to see normally. The main reason was that many investors were building positions following a netizen named Common Prosperity. He recommended several stocks in the forum, and he bought at least 1 million of each stock. Such a bold move by a retail investor was extremely rare in this era. What was even rarer was that in this kind of market, every single stock he picked was, without exception, in the red. Even if it was green before he bought it, it would turn red after he built his position. This kind of person could generally only be described with two words: a freak. What was even more commendable was that this person almost published every single one of his operations in the forum. That meant as long as you followed his buys, you absolutely wouldn't lose money. Thus, Common Prosperity was hailed by netizens as a living bodhisattva, receiving the pursuit and adoration of countless investors. Unfortunately, there were no trending searches in this era, otherwise, Common Prosperity would definitely be the hottest topic today. Netizen: Brother Prosperity is truly a god. His operations today left me dumbfounded. Netizen E: I wonder where Brother Prosperity works. I have a lot of questions about the stock market I'd like to ask you. Would you do me the honor of having a meal together? This comment was followed by a picture, a selfie of a beautiful woman, and a rather seductive one at that. Netizen: Damn, you shameless vixen. Do you think our Brother Prosperity is that superficial? Immediately after, Netizen B also posted a selfie with the text, Brother Prosperity, are guys okay? The posts below were full of disdain for Netizen B, but everyone started posting their own selfies. There were men and women, and even a white-haired old man. Netizen C: Brothers, I want to erect a monument for Brother Prosperity. What title do you guys think I should write? This matter spread like wildfire among the investors, but the actual owners of the companies had absolutely no interest in the petty squabbles among retail investors. Time passed quickly, and it was time for a break. Today's Hong Kong stock market could be said to have only two types of people: those who bought Changsheng Company's stock and those who didn't. The investors holding Changsheng stock could be summed up in one word: Boss Huang. Today, our affiliated companies have basically all achieved a triple jump in market value. The most outstanding is Changsheng Company, whose market value has doubled. The stock price has reached 80 cents. Today, Mr. Shen burned through 800 million yuan to drive up the stock price. Right now, the stocks of these companies in our group's hands are valued at approximately 4 billion yuan. And before today, the total stock value of these companies didn't exceed 500 million yuan. That means our group's net profit today is approximately 2.7 billion yuan. The CFO's hands trembled slightly as he held today's financial report. You have to know, because of the Black Swan event the day before yesterday, the total losses of the groups under the three big bosses were around 5 billion yuan. But today, in just one day, they earned back more than half of it, and they earned it in a sluggish market. Talk about massive ups and downs. This is what you call a massive drop followed by a massive rise. Brother Shen is truly a rare genius of our time. Huang Haitao smiled and trotted over to Shen Xun. You've worked really hard today. I am a bit tired. Call 2 masseuses for my sister and me tonight. Make sure they have good skills. Shen Xun rubbed his somewhat dry eyes, standing up to stretch his muscles. Heh, Brother Shen, if you have any requests, just ask. Then I want to go home. Is that okay? Shen Xun raised an eyelid. Hey, if Brother Shen wants to go home, of course. You can, Huang Haitao said with a fake smile. It's just that there are still 2 days left until our agreed date. In 2 days, I will naturally let Brother Shen go home. Shen Xun sneered inwardly. This bastard only knows how to dodge the issue. Fine, hurry up and get someone to prepare food. We still need massages after eating. Half an hour before the market opened the next day. Common Prosperity. Today, Changsheng's position remains unchanged. If you have ammo, add ammo. If you don't have ammo, borrow some. If you can't borrow any, figure it out yourself. Netizens: Brother Prosperity. Changsheng skyrocketed like a firework yesterday. Are we really going all in again today? Netizen B: Brother Prosperity, my savings for a wife are all thrown in there. You won't screw us over, right? Netizen C: Fuck, what are you guys afraid of? If you want to make money, add to your position. Add to your position. Common Prosperity. Trust me, brothers. I guarantee I'll continue to lead everyone to feast today. Netizen: I trust Brother Prosperity. Just do it and we're good. Netizen B: The timid starve, the bold feast. Charge. Netizen C: I didn't follow Brother Prosperity yesterday and lost $1 million. I absolutely can't lose today. I sold my Audi A6 for 400,000. I'll pawn my house later too. This comment was accompanied by a picture showing a successful purchase, amounting to 400,000 yuan. After the market opened, Changsheng Company once again dropped everyone's jaws. The initial surge reached a direct 20%. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. For a time, the name Brother Prosperity echoed throughout the entire forum, becoming an unshakable true god in the hearts of retail investors. Netizen A: Starting today, I have 2 fathers. Netizen B: What's Brother Prosperity's major fortune telling? Netizen C: Brothers, I changed my mind. I'm not erecting a monument for Brother Prosperity anymore. I'm building a temple. The comments below uniformly read, count me in for the incense money. Netizen A: I've already thrown away the God of Wealth statue enshrined in my house and replaced it with a new God of Wealth. What do you guys think? Attached was a photo. The deity originally enshrined on the altar in the photo had been replaced by Common Prosperity's avatar. Up to now, 9 out of 10 posts in this forum were discussing who Common Prosperity actually was. Some said he was an insider who knew the truth, while others said he just got lucky. There were even more outrageous claims saying he was the reincarnation of the God of Wealth, making money on whatever he bought. Although his identity was unclear, no one questioned his operations. Every single one of his moves was actually flawless. Sometimes, he could even avoid some minor dips. And so, as the stock market closed, the second day's trading also came to an end. Today, 1.5 billion yuan was spent to drive up the stock prices. The CFO looked at this report, his mind already somewhat dazed. He couldn't even believe that he had personally made this report. But just the market value of Changsheng Company alone had already reached 6 billion yuan. Just tell me the net profit directly, Huang Haitao interrupted the CFO. Today's net profit is 6.2 billion yuan. The third day, which was also the last day of Shen Xun's agreement with the three big bosses. Boss Huang, today is the last day. Shen Xun sat at the round table, using a knife and fork to cut a top-tier marbled steak from New Zealand. The red wine next to him was a 1,976 Romani Conti worth hundreds of thousands. There's a saying, going from frugality to luxury is easy, but going from luxury to frugality is hard. Shen Xun had thoroughly experienced this firsthand. On the first day he was kidnapped. Although the dishes the three big bosses prepared for him were diverse, if Shen Xun hadn't agreed to their demands, I'm afraid, they would have flipped the table on the spot. But ever since he showed off his skills in their hands, Shen Xun's status here had skyrocketed. The three big bosses even treated him like a precious treasure. He lived in a presidential suite-level room and ate top-tier delicacies meant for billionaires. Enjoying this kind of life, an ordinary person would have probably fallen into depravity long ago. But how could Shen Xun be someone who coveted pleasure and comfort? His agreement with the three big bosses was to raise the average stock price of these companies to 10 yuan per share. But as early as yesterday afternoon, the stock of Changsheng Group alone had already risen to an astonishing 20 yuan. You have to know, before Shen Xun took over the trading, Changsheng Company's stock was only a pitiful 20 cents a share. Through Shen Xun's operations, Changsheng Company's market value directly skyrocketed by 100 times. Although this was also due to the three big bosses continuously injecting funds, they knew in their hearts that for an average trader, a 5% return on a 1 million investment was already good, and a professional trader's return was generally around 20%. And what was Shen Xun's return rate? A terrifying 500%. Shen Xun had actually fulfilled his agreement with the three big bosses long ago. Although they were all well aware of this, no one brought it up. The attitude of the three big bosses was already very clear. Even after today, it's impossible to let you go. After all, who would easily give up a cornucopia in their hands? Especially greedy capitalists. After this is done, please keep your promise and let my sister and me go home. Shen Xun stuffed a piece of steak into his mouth. Sitting opposite him, Huang Haitao still had his usual fake smile. It's truly been hard on Brother Shen recently. After it's done today, I'll have to host a banquet to thank you both. Boss Huang, there's no need for a banquet. We haven't contacted our family for a long time. I'm afraid they'll be worried. Ha ha ha, what are you saying? No one is allowed to leave. Leaving means not giving me Huang face. Huang Haitao still had a genial look. But the more Shen Xun looked at him, the more he wanted to punch this fat pig flat. Let's skip it. Not contacting our family for so long, they must be very anxious. Shen Xun pretended to look pleading. Hey, Brother Shen, put your mind completely at ease. How could I neglect your esteemed parents? They are doing very well right now. If you don't believe me, look at this. Huang Haitao pulled out a remote control from nowhere and lightly pressed it. The large TV next to the round table suddenly displayed an image. Mom, Dad. Shen Qian covered her mouth in disbelief and exclaimed, even Uncle and Aunt are there. On the screen, Shen Xun and Shen Qian's parents appeared in the same room at the same time, their expressions seemingly very solemn. Shen Xun's face twitched twice, forcibly suppressing the anger in his heart. Boss Huang, this Brother Shen, don't misunderstand. Your parents are in a villa under my name, with dedicated staff serving them. When did you? I saw them always wandering around the streets. How dangerous is that? It's better if I find them a safe place to stay. You've got to be kidding. Shen Qian was about to curse Huang Haitao for being shameless, but Shen Xun grabbed her slender arm. Both our parents are in his hands. We can't fall out with him right now. Shen Xun whispered to Shen Qian. But don't worry. I will definitely make them pay the price. Today, Shen Xun's hands, hidden under the table, clenched so tightly, his knuckles cracked. Shen Qian looked at the man in front of her. His face was full of determination and resilience. For some reason, she could actually trust him unconditionally. Her anxious heart actually settled down just like that. I understand Boss Huang's good intentions. I'll stay tonight. Seeing that Shen Xun was actually so sensible, Huang Haitao beamed with joy. Ha ha ha, good. Brother Shen is straightforward. Come, I toast you. Shen Xun expressionlessly raised his wine glass and downed the remaining half of the red wine in one gulp. I've eaten and drunk my fill. Boss Huang, I'll go get busy first. Shen Xun put down his wine glass and quickly left the table with Shen Qian. Brother Huang truly calculates without missing a detail. I didn't expect to handle this kid so easily. Director Hu, still at his seat, swirled the red wine glass in his hand. I had someone look into him. This kid has no wife and no kids. The only thing we can use to control him is the two old folks in his family. They say family is a man's only tie, and that saying is absolutely right. As long as his parents are in our hands, this golden goose will keep laying golden eggs for us. Huang Haitao laughed heartily. Genius? Even if you are a monster, so what? In this territory of Zhuzhou, even if Jesus came, he'd still have to work for us. Brother Huang is right. Director Gu also laughed boldly, but when he turned his head, he found Director Huang looking heavily preoccupied. Old Huang, what's wrong? Did your wife run off with someone? Screw you, your wife ran off with someone. Director Huang rolled his eyes at him. I'm just wondering if our business is going a bit too smoothly. Isn't going smoothly a good thing? Director Hu didn't understand. So you mean it wouldn't be weird only if we lost money? I just feel like something isn't right, but I can't exactly say what it is. Director Huang said worriedly. I've been having the same dream these past 2 days. What dream? Director Hu asked, puzzled. I dreamed that the 3 of us were squatting in the same jail cell. Damn it, are you sick in the head? Director Hu punched him in the chest. Do you want me to book a doctor for you? You're the one who's sick. Is it wrong for me to be worried? Who's as simple-minded as you? Who are you calling simple-minded? Enough. Seeing the atmosphere between the two starting to get weird, Huang Haitao frowned and scolded. Are you two still 5-year-old kids? Making such a racket here? What a disgrace. Scolded by Huang Haitao, Director Hu and Director Huang hurriedly stood up and bowed to apologize. Sorry, Brother Huang. Old Hu, when are you going to change your temper? I'll change. I'll definitely change. Director Hu completely dropped his usual irritable demeanor. At this moment, he was like a child being punished by a parent for making a mistake. And, you, my dear old Huang. Huang Haitao shook his head, looking deeply pained. Stop being so paranoid all day, okay? Squatting in a jail cell together? Do you know why the Zhuzhou Police Department can afford to keep a bunch of lazy bums and still pay their salaries? Huang Haitao pointed at Director Huang's nose and scolded. It's not because Zhuzhou's finances are so rich, but because the taxes I pay alone every year are enough to support this entire district. Arrest me? On what grounds? All the officials in Zhuzhou are my people. If they arrest me, the governor of Zhuzhou will have to be replaced. Do you understand? I understand. Director Huang said with trepidation. I'm not questioning your weight. I'm just worried that kid might stir up some trouble for us. Huang Haitao said dismissively. Just him? A wet behind-the-ears brat? A nouveau riche? I've been in Zhuzhou for so many years, spent so much money, and fattened up so many people. Do you think they're just freeloaders? He and his parents are right under our noses. What can he do? Does he dare to play tricks on us? Old Huang. Huang Haitao's face turned from red to pale as he sighed. In Zhuzhou, even if the sky falls, you don't need to be afraid, because I'm holding up this piece of the sky. Understand? Understood. Director Huang nodded his head like a woodpecker. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, a knock came from outside the dining room. Come in. Huang Haitao sighed and sat back down. Seeing the person who came in, he asked, Xiao Love, why are you here? The one called Xiao Love was precisely the CFO of the 3 big bosses group. He was panting heavily, looking like he had just run 10 kilometers. Boss Huang, Mr. Shen's side says we still need to add money. Huang Haitao frowned. Just do as Mr. Shen says. Didn't I tell you not to report this kind of thing to me? Being yelled at by Huang Haitao like this, Xiao Love's face turned a bit pale. He said cautiously, but the amount this time is a bit large. I can't make the decision, so I came to inform. How much? Xiao Love didn't speak, but tremblingly held up 2 fingers. Just 200 million. You call that large? Xiao LV shook his head. Huang Haitao's frown deepened. Just tell me how much. Stop playing charades with me. 2 billion. As his words fell, even the 3 big bosses, who had seen their fair share of storms, froze in unison. Previously, the maximum amount they had injected at one time was no more than 300 million, but this time, Shen Xun actually demanded they inject 2 billion in one breath. Injecting such an amount of cash at once, even the 3 big bosses had to weigh it carefully. 2 billion in cash flow is not the same as assets. In this era, a company that could directly pull out 100 million in cash was already considered very impressive, and Shen Xun wanted them to pull out 2 billion at once. Brother Huang, I don't think we can inject it. If we do, our cash flow will break. The stock price is about right. Let's just stop and sell. Director Huang hurriedly advised. But Mr. Shen said, as long as the bosses are willing to inject this 2 billion, he guarantees today's returns will reach at least 10 billion. Xiao LV added. The 3 of them simultaneously gasped. Brother Huang, I think we must invest this. Director Hu stood up abruptly. We can get our capital back this afternoon anyway, so what if we charge in? We can't invest. If something goes wrong, we might not be able to bear it. Director Huang still objected. I say, old Huang, how can you have so little guts? Director Hu scoffed at his cowardly behavior. With this kind of courage, you shouldn't be in finance, just go be a civil servant. What did you say? Provoked by him, Director Huang's temper also flared up. I just don't want to be a reckless fool like you. Enough. I'm still here. Are you two done? Huang Haitao slapped his large hand down, knocking over the red wine on the table. Listen to me. Add it. This isn't appropriate, is it? Director Hu wanted to advise again, but was interrupted. My mind is made up. Say no more. This fine. After hesitating again and again, Director Huang still decided to give up. Persuading. Common prosperity. Brothers, same as before. If you have ammo, add ammo. If you don't, borrow some. If you can go all in right now, Go all in. Netizen, received. Brothers, keep up. Netizen B, I even asked for my son's New Year's money. Brothers, charge. Netizen C, I'm only short of selling my husband. Attached was a picture showing her signing a house-selling contract with an agent. Common prosperity. The next hour is crucial. Everyone must pay attention to my updates. Absolutely do not lose track. Netizens, received. Today's stock market was exceptionally lively, especially the stock prices of the companies in the hands of the three big bosses, which flew straight up without stopping, exactly like the market trend of the previous 2 days. But obviously, today's growth was even more ferocious. Just an hour and a half after opening, Changshan Company's stock price had already risen by 80%. This could be said to be an unheard of spectacle in the stock market. Brothers, I originally owed over $1 million from gambling, and now, I've made it all back. Thank you, Brother Prosperity. From now on, I am your disciple. My mother is seriously ill, and needs a large sum for surgery. I originally just wanted to invest a few thousand to try, but I didn't expect to actually earn the surgery fee. Brother Prosperity, you are my god. During this period, basically anyone who bought the stocks recommended by Brother Prosperity achieved financial freedom within these few days. What was even more exaggerated was that in the following hour, these stocks actually completed an unprecedented feat of doubling and doubling again. In these 3 days, Changshan Company's stock trading volume even reached a shocking 100 billion mark. But just when everyone thought these stocks would continue to rise, Common Prosperity spoke up. Brothers, sell all the stocks of these companies you currently hold. A simple sentence, yet it stirred up a sky full of comments. Netizen, holy shit, is this a harvest? It's growing so well. Do we really have to sell? What everything? Netizen B, Brother Prosperity, are you sure there's no mistake? Sell everything. Common Prosperity, yes, I'll repeat it once more. Sell everything. He also attached a screenshot showing Common Prosperity's ID and his current holding amount. The picture clearly showed that he had cleared all his positions, leaving absolutely nothing behind. Just 1 minute after Common Prosperity posted, the stock prices of the companies he mentioned immediately stopped rising. After a brief pause, the stock prices took a sharp dive. One stone raised 1,000 ripples, exploded. The investors in the entire forum all exploded. These stocks, which were red hot just a few days ago, plummeted like a crashing plane just as they were about to break through the 50 mark. Just 5 minutes after Common Prosperity announced the news, it dropped directly by 5 points. Netizen, holy shit, Brother Prosperity is a true god. He said it would drop, and it actually dropped immediately. Thank God I ran fast. Netizen B, motherfucker. I seriously suspect Brother Prosperity is the traitor behind the scenes. Otherwise, how could he be so accurate? Netizen C, who cares if he's the traitor? We made money anyway, no matter what. Brother Prosperity is my second biological father. Smack. Huang Haitao was so angry his lungs were about to explode, his face the color of pig liver. What's going on? What the hell is going on? The CFO, Xiao Love, lowered his head and said tremblingly, it's said that someone is dumping a massive amount of our company's stocks at low prices, then buying them up in bulk, and then continuing to dump them at low prices. Dumping at low prices? Is this person crazy? Huang Haitao asked, puzzled. Who would do something so detrimental to others without benefiting themselves? I don't know either. Xiao Love shook his head. Brother Huang, could it be that kid Shen Xun's doing? Director Hu roared, glaring and blowing his beard. It must be this kid's doing. I'm going to kill him. Where is Shen Xun? Huang Haitao's eyes turned cold, a faint murderous intent surfacing in his eyes. This kid actually dares to play me. Butler Liu, have him come see me. Butler Liu, standing to the side, bowed slightly to show his understanding. Immediately dump all the stocks in our hands, leave nothing behind. This kid is crazy. Huang Haitao suddenly remembered that he still had a bunch of shell companies with no business development in his hands. If he didn't sell them quickly now, he might not be able to get his money back in his next life. I've already had someone handle it, it's just that I'm afraid. The CFO glanced at Huang Haitao. Seeing the other party's murderous gaze, he didn't dare to speak. Afraid of what? Tell me clearly all at once. I'm afraid it's too late. The current stock price is almost halved from its peak. The three big bosses froze simultaneously, unable to believe their ears for a moment. Director Huang hurriedly turned on his computer and logged into the stock exchange, only to find that, just as the CFO had said, the stock price was nearly halved. List the price a little lower. Director Huang hurriedly asked. No good. The person dragging down our stock price is offering an even lower price. And besides him, it seems there's hardly anyone in the trading market who dares to buy the stocks of these companies. Damn it. The veins on Huang Haitao's forehead bulged, his eyes bloodshot. Where is Shen Xun? Tell him to get over here and see me right now. Master, Mr. Shen says he's tied up right now and wants you to go see him personally. Damn mutt. Huang Haitao almost crushed his back teeth. He waved his large hand. Let's go. Let's go see what tricks this guy has up his sleeve. The group stormed angrily into the trading room, only to see Shen Xun sitting alone at the trading desk, clipping his nails, his eyes not even on the screen. Shen Xun, are you looking for death? Director Hu, who had the most explosive temper, angrily marched up to Shen Xun and flipped his entire desk over. Director Hu, what are you doing? Shen Xun asked with a puzzled look, his expression like an innocent child. What am I doing? Don't you know in your heart? Director Hu was itching with anger. Didn't you tamper with the stock price? What's wrong with the stock price? The monitor just broke. I don't know what happened. You're fucking asking for death. Seeing that he refused to admit it, Director Hu was consumed by rage. He raised his fist, about to greet Shen Xun's face. Shen Xun snorted lightly and raised his left arm, catching Director Hu's hook punch squarely. Instead, he followed up with a right straight punch that landed perfectly on Director Hu's stomach. You brat, Director Hu cried out in pain, hurriedly stepping back 2 paces, clutching his stomach and gasping for air. They completely couldn't have imagined that in his previous life, in order to make money, Shen Xun would even go to the boxing gym every night to be a sparring partner, essentially a human punching bag. He had long been steeped in fighting techniques and methods. As long as he didn't encounter an opponent in a heavier weight class, Shen Xun believed he could remain undefeated. Not to mention Director Hu, who lived a pampered life, his body ruined by tobacco and alcohol, and was already half a century old. For Shen Xun, taking him down was effortless. Men. Director Hu roared in exasperation. As soon as his voice fell, Shen Xun lunged forward, accurately grabbing Director Hu's neck, taking him down to the ground, and pinning him down tightly with a rear grapple. You're dead. Director Hu still wanted to talk tough. The strength in Shen Xun's hands suddenly increased, making the former cry out in pain. Shen Xun, let old Hu go. Huang Haitao and Director Huang, who were by the door, were both startled by Shen Xun's swift and fierce methods. Shen Xun, let's talk. Huang Haitao forcibly suppressed his anger. You should be very clear that if you dare to touch old Hu, you and your family won't live to see tonight's moon. Threatening me? A fierce glint exploded in Shen Xun's eyes. 3 days ago, maybe you could threaten me, but now, you can't. So the stock price issue was indeed your doing. Huang Haitao's face twitched. What exactly did you do? What could I do? I've been under your surveillance 24/7. What could I possibly do? Shen Xun sneered. You wanted me to drive up the stock price. Didn't I drive it up? Since you already knew, let's lay our cards on the table. Although Huang Haitao wished he could tear Shen Xun to pieces, he couldn't touch him right now, because only he could salvage this situation. You have to know, the 3 of them had invested nearly 4 billion in cash altogether. Based on the current situation where the stock price was halved, the total market value of these companies should be around 5 billion. But they only held 70% of these companies' shares. The remaining 30% were all still in the hands of retail investors. That meant even if they sold all their stocks, it would only be worth around 3.5 billion. Counting the 4 billion plus they invested, they were actually losing over 500 million. The most fatal part was that the stock prices of these companies were still dropping, and they hadn't completely sold off the stocks in their hands. Under these circumstances, if the 3 big bosses didn't want to take a loss, they needed Shen Xun to show mercy and stop dumping stocks at low prices. But the 3 big bosses still had Shen Xun's family as hostages, so they also had enough leverage to negotiate with Shen Xun. After this series of operations, the scales returned to a balanced level. Both sides held each other's weaknesses. No matter who emerged victorious, their open and secret struggles would finally come to an end today. Since we both know what's going on, let's lay our cards on the table. Huang Haitao got straight to the point. What is your goal? My goal? What goal could I have? Shen Xun smiled, non-committally. Boss Huang, I don't understand a word you're saying. Then I'll ask more. Directly. Huang Haitao was now consumed by anger, both furious and anxious. What will it take for you to stop? You're just dissatisfied with me putting your parents under house arrest. Fine, I can release them. But the premise is that you must help me stabilize the stock price. Shen Xun sneered. Boss Huang, when you put other people's parents under house arrest, did you ever think this day would come? The 2 lumps of wrinkled fat on Huang Haitao's face twitched fiercely twice, but he didn't dare to get angry. What happened before was all a misunderstanding. Can we sit down and have a good talk now? Sit down and talk. Shen Xun glanced out the window from the corner of his eye. It's full of your people outside right now. Then what exactly do you want? At this moment, the brick phone in Huang Haitao's hand suddenly rang. Shen Xun smiled lightly. What are you waiting for? Aren't you going to answer the phone? What if it's important? Huang Haitao narrowed his eyes and tossed the phone to Director Huang behind him. You answer it. What other conditions do you have? Just name them. You want money, women, or houses? I can get them all for you. Shen Xun smiled and shook his head. With a vicious knife hand strike, he smashed the back of Director Hu's neck. Director Hu let out a muffled groan and collapsed to the ground, unconscious. My dear boss Huang, do you think I'd be short of those things? Shen Xun clapped his hands and pulled a chair over. He crossed his legs and locked eyes with Huang Haitao. Let's not rush. We can wait for him to finish his call. Hearing this, Huang Haitao turned to look at Director Huang, only to see that the man's face looked terrible. An ominous premonition crept up his spine. After Director Huang hung up the phone, his expression was grave and gloomy. One company's stock price has already plummeted to 1 yuan. The rest have basically been slashed in half, and then halved again. We've sold less than half of the stocks we hold. Preliminary estimates show that the 4 billion we invested is basically gone. When Huang Haitao heard this news, he was completely dazed. In all his life, this was the first time he had experienced the feeling of plummeting from heaven straight to hell. What did 1 billion mean in the 1990s? 4 billion was more than 2 years' worth of net profit for their group. 4 billion was enough to buy up all the land within a 5-kilometer radius of the central area of Juzhou. This 4 billion was crucial capital for their group. Once the chain broke, the entire group was at risk of collapsing. Huang Haitao's vision went dark, and he fell backward. Fortunately, Director Huang was quick to catch him. You win. Tell me, what do you want? Although Huang Haitao didn't want to admit it, he had to accept that he had been completely played by the young man in front of him. Do you know what the market will look like after you short the stocks and sell them at a high price? Shen Xun sneered. It'll be a complete mess. Countless people will take their own lives because of your greed. Shen Xun's own parents in his past life had ended their lives exactly like this. He knew all too well the agonizing pain of losing one's parents. Countless whole families could be destroyed just because of these capitalists holding the capital, playing games that ruin lives. Shen Xun absolutely would not allow such tragedies to continue. That was why he chose to risk his life to go up against the 3 big bosses. Ha 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 ha! I didn't expect you to be such a saint. Huang Haitao sat on the floor and burst into laughter. So noble, you're amazing, but that's just you. People are all selfish and greedy. What does it matter to me if others go bankrupt? Why should I empathize with them? I didn't expect that someone like you, who disrupts market order and breaks the law, could still say such things at a time like this. Shen Xun shook his head. To some extent, I actually admire you. Don't you realize that it's exactly your greed and selfishness that cost you over 4 billion? Huang Haitao yelled, forcefully pushing away. Director Huang, who was supporting him, trembling, he stood up unsteadily, pointed at Shen Xun, and said, You're the winner of this battle. You're standing on the moral high ground. You can say whatever you want about me, but have you ever thought about what would happen if I won? I'd be covered by the news. Media everywhere. I'd become a legend in the investment world, a figure written into the history books. I'd be famous for eternity. That's the iron rule. Shen Xun listened to him in silence, then shook his head. I don't deny your point, but your methods are far too despicable. I absolutely cannot agree with them, and neither will the law. Joke. Do I need you or the law to agree with me? I am the law in Juzhou. Without anyone noticing when, a gleaming black handgun had suddenly appeared in Huang Haitao's hand. Shen Xun's heart tightened. It seemed this guy was a sore loser and was ready to take him out. Huang Haitao expertly cocked the gun and aimed it at Shen Xun, stripping away his usual facade of amiability. At this moment, he bared his true fangs. He didn't hesitate for a second. After taking aim, he swiftly pulled the trigger, giving Shen Xun no chance at all. The entire room was instantly filled with the pungent smell of gunpowder. Fortunately, Shen Xun had sharp eyes. From the moment Huang Haitao put his hand behind his back, he had noticed something was wrong. Upon realizing it was a handgun, his body reacted immediately, diving behind the trading desk. The bullet's impact point was right next to Director Hu's head. If it had been off by just 2 centimeters, Director Hu's head would have been blown off. Good lord, when this guy gets ruthless, he doesn't even care about his own people. Tell Director C at the villa to bury his parents for me. Shen Xun realized that Huang Haitao was consumed by rage, and was going for a desperate last stand. If you guys don't come out now, he's really going to kill me. Shen Xun stopped pretending and shouted loudly toward the window. Huang Haitao held the gun, smiling ferociously. Now you know you messed up? Too late. I'm going to shoot you dead today. Not even Jesus can save you. I said so. Huang Haitao, what you say doesn't count. We mainlanders don't believe in Jesus. A crisp female voice came from behind Huang Haitao. He instinctively turned around to check, but before he knew it, his hands were grabbed. Then, a blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the entire villa. Who are you? Do you know who I am? I'm Huang Haitao, the local kingpin of Juzhou. The policewoman easily disarmed the handgun from Huang Haitao's grasp and casually